Chapter 224. Chen Bingyu normally did not make a sound. She was an aloof ice beauty, but her temper was even worse than Nangong Yun's. Moreover, she could kill without batting an eye, so once she made a move, she would start a massacre. Chu Tian stopped him. Stop. It was fine if Shangguan Feichen wanted to die, but he couldn't let the innocent cavalry die with him. Chu Tian always had his own principles. If he didn't want to kill someone, he wouldn't kill them. You've caused trouble for me over and over again, but it's understandable. Chu Tian had a helpless expression as he said to Shangguan Feichen, who told me to be more handsome than you, have more talent than you, have more money than you, and even have more luck with women than you. If the two of us switched places, I think I would also want to kill you out of jealousy. Nangong Yun was speechless. This fellow's narcissism couldn't be cured. Shangguan Feichen's face turned livid. Do you think that with the protection of a true soul realm expert, you can live in peace in southern Xia? A true soul realm expert doesn't count for anything in the Shangguan family. He was using the family to threaten father again. This grandson only had this bit of skill. You're not convinced? Good. I'll give you a chance, we'll fight one-on-one. Chu Tian's words shocked everyone. I'll let everyone see what skills the Western Marquis successor has. A person at the peak of the triple awakened soul realm. He was going to challenge an expert at the fifth awakened soul layer. This fifth awakened soul layer expert was not a normal person, he was the Western Marquis successor. Not only were the people beside Chu Tian stunned, the several hundred cavalry were also deeply shocked. Chu Tian was using a trivial triple awakened soul realm cultivation to challenge Shangguan Feichen at the fifth awakened soul layer. Was there a chance of victory? The difference in strength was not a small one. Southern Xia's title was hereditary. The person who inherited the Marquis title had to be at least 30 years old and have a cultivation in the true soul realm. Shangguan Feichen was the noble Western Marquis successor and had been trained by the Western Marquis since he was young. Although he was only 25 or 26 years old, his strength surpassed the Western Marquis of the past, so inheriting the Western Marquis title was already in the bag. What was Chu Tian? Even if a person who was born as a wild cultivator had a few opportunities, how could he be a match for the prince? Nangong Yun had fought Shangguan Feichen once and she could feel the Western Marquis successor's strength. With her fourth awakened soul layer immortal body, she could only block Shangguan Feichen's strength. No matter how strong Chu Tian was, he was only at the peak of the triple awakened soul. In terms of defense, he definitely could not compare to Nangong Yun. Could he really block Shangguan Feichen's strength? Shangguan Feichen was stunned. Chu Tian clearly had the upper hand, but he still made such a decision. But wasn't this exactly what he wanted? So be it. All of you back off. Chu Tian said to Chen Bingyu, no one is allowed to interfere, do you hear me? Everyone knew about Chu Tian's character. The girls had no choice but to retreat. I really don't know whether to call you stupid or ignorant. Shangguan Feichen held a large pen and said with a cold smile on his face, do you really think that you can fight against me just because you defeated Wei Long and Wu Yang? Those who overestimate themselves will not have a good ending. These words are more suitable for you. Chu Tian slowly raised the netherworld sword and a crystal blue flame was slowly released from the blade. Those who overestimate themselves will not have a good ending. What a joke. I am the Western Marquis successor, a wild monkey that came from who knows where dares to challenge me. Shangguan Feichen felt deeply insulted. I want you to die. The giant pen waved. Wind-killing array. The giant brush sprinkled out countless drops of spirit ink, which fell around Chu Tian like raindrops. They connected with each other and formed a large formation in the blink of an eye. In an instant, Chu Tian was trapped in the center, and the power of wind bound him to the ground. Dozens of green wind blades slashed over at an extremely fast speed. The netherworld sword's power was released, breaking through the binding. Chu Tian instantly disappeared and a sharp sword glow tore through the array, stabbing at Shangguan Feichen. What kind of power was this? It was actually breaking through the array. Shangguan Feichen quickly blocked it with his pen and blue sparks flew. Chu Tian attacked from another direction and Shangguan Feichen casually swept out, blocking the sword glow. Chu Tian's attacks were all to no avail. Your sword art is only a so-so. Your speed is alright, but it's too weak. Break! Shangguan Feichen's pen suddenly stabbed out, accurately hitting Chu Tian's blade. He forced Chu Tian out and pushed him back several meters. The blade continued to tremble, clearly being hit by a strong force. The Western Marquis successor really did have some skills. Chu Tian had easily broken through his array. He had easily broken through Chu Tian's sword art. I want to know, after losing the sword in your hand, can you still use this kind of attack? Shangguan Feichen said with a face of ridicule, take a look at your weapon. The Netherworld sword was as smooth as crystal, but it was covered in a layer of black energy. It was like a large amount of ink and the energy continued to change into small tadpole-like runes, instantly forming a large sealing power. Chu Tian's hand sank. The Netherworld sword instantly became 1,000 times heavier and he almost couldn't lift it up. How is it? Your sword has already been crippled. Shangguan Feichen said in a proud voice, this attack will cripple your sword and the next attack will cripple you. It's just a small trick. Chu Tian released the Abyss Netherworld flame and instantly melted the seal on the blade. Shangguan Feichen was shocked. It seems like you can't seal my sword. Chu Tian easily raised the sword and said to Shangguan Feichen, take a look at your weapon. Shangguan Feichen was stunned. He looked down and his face fell. That hard-as-diamond pen actually had cracks on it and there was a small flame left on it. What? This pen was a top-grade soul weapon and it was actually damaged by Chu Tian. Damn! Shangguan Feichen flew into a rage out of shame. The pen danced in the air and with a thrust of the pen, spirit ink flew out. Each drop turned into a seal that covered an area of 30 meters, finally forming a giant source energy array. The entire ground caved in from this giant force. Gravity seal. Chu Tian's body sank down like a small mountain was pressing down on him. Shangguan Feichen waved the pen again and a large amount of ink exploded. The dense amount of ink shot out and most of them turned into seals that howled out. Each seal contained a strong destructive might. Sword. The demon god sword source spirit was released. The Netherworld sword glowed brightly. Chu Tian slashed out with a powerful sword chi, burning away all the seals that came at him. Finally it turned into drops of ink that fell to the ground. These spirit inks did not disappear, but they began to flow together, turning into an incomparably large array. Ink shadow steps. Shangguan Feichen's speed reached its peak. Each time his foot touched the ground, he would land on a spot of ink. This was an exquisite movement technique that combined the user with the spirit array. Shangguan Feichen could instantly teleport to any spot of ink. His speed was very fast and it was hard to catch, so he could instantly release a storm of attacks. He did not believe that Chu Tian could defend multiple spots at once. He had some skill. But to Chu Tian, this kind of technique was just child's play. Chu Tian's demon god sword source spirit released a strong energy and the Netherworld sword was inserted into the ground. A pillar of flame was released and the spirit ink on the ground was instantly evaporated. At the same time, a raging flame slashed at Shangguan Feichen. Dang! Shangguan Feichen was sent flying. That top-grade soul tool level long brush was actually directly cut into two. Everyone was stunned. A single slash had cut the Western Marquis successor's weapon. Did that weapon really reach the level of a soul-contracting weapon? Don't think that you can beat me with a good sword. I will let you understand that the difference in cultivation cannot be made up for with a single weapon. Shangguan Feichen let out a furious roar and spirit energy surged out of his body, turning into a giant wave of spirit ink that surged into the sky like a giant wave, crashing down with an aura that seemed to be able to devour everything. Chu Tian raised his long sword high up. The flames from all directions were all gathered in the air, condensing on the tip of the sword. It formed a giant fireball that released a dazzling light like the sun. Die! Shangguan Feichin stepped on the wave, leaving arrays and runes everywhere he went. Chu Tian's sword slashed out and a blue ball of flames appeared. It instantly grew and turned into a giant ball of flames that slammed into the black wave of ink. Like water and fire colliding, they were in a deadlock for a while. Shangguan Feichin loudly roared, "I've won." His confidence was justified. Chu Tian's attack was very strong, but it had almost used up all of Chu Tian's spirit energy. Shangguan Feichin had a deep cultivation base, so he still had most of his spirit energy left. Even if they were evenly matched, he still had a complete battle strength. So what if Chu Tian could resist for a short while? The final victor would still belong to Shangguan Feichin. When Shangguan Feichin thought that victory was in his grasp, an unexpected scene occurred. When the wave of ink and the fireball met, it was not a smile like he imagined, but rather a relationship of strength. The fireball contained a strong tearing force. No matter how many runes Shangguan Feichin condensed, the fireball would break them down and burn them, using them as fuel to strengthen itself. In just a short moment, over half of Shangguan Feichin's wave of ink had been burned away. The fireball was twice as large as before. What is this? Shangguan Feichin's eyes filled with fear. The fireball underwent a strange change. It instantly shrank and 4 limbs came out, turning into a giant flaming demon. Its eyes released a red glow and its body was covered in blue and green flames. There was a pair of incomparably fierce demon horns on its head. This was not an illusion. Shangguan Feichin could clearly feel the demon's strength, it was not below his own. Chu Tian coldly ordered, "Kill him." "Yes, master." Netherworld's fist pierced through the wave of ink and landed on Shangguan Feichin. The abyss netherworld flame was released, swallowing Shangguan Feichin's body. Ah! Shangguan Feichin gave a pitiful cry as he was sent flying into the opposite hill. What? Chu Tian said with a taunting smile, "This is the strength of the Western Marquis successor." Shangguan Feichin wanted to escape in a sorry state. The flaming demon turned into countless streams of flames, instantly blocking Shangguan Feichin's path. Its palm was raised high and instantly expanded several times, turning into a giant arm that covered the sky as it slammed down at Shangguan Feichin. "Stop!" An arrow flew through the air. It instantly pierced through the flaming demon's arm and a layer of ice energy covered the demon's body, causing Netherworld's movements to slow down. There was a group of cavalry coming from the distance. The one at the front was the Golden Arrow Marquis successor, Jiang Shan. The arrow just now was shot by him. Chu Tian narrowed his eyes in dissatisfaction. "Brother Jiang, you're meddling in other people's business." "Brother Chu, you can't kill him." Jiang Shan seemed like he had just gone through a bitter battle and was covered in injuries. "Of the 1,000 cavalry, only 200-300 were left. If you kill him, have you considered the Western Marquis revenge?" Chu Tian shrugged his shoulders. "I never wanted to kill him, I just wanted to cripple him." Jiang Shan was speechless. Wasn't this the same? Jiang Shan quickly tried to persuade him, "Give me some face. He is already heavily injured, so forget it." "All right then." Chu Tian looked at the half-dead Shangguan Feichin and said with a sigh, "I'll give you some face." Chapter 225. After several hours of chaos, Thunder State City's citizens lined up in a long line, dragging their wives and children as they fled. But with how large Thunder State City was, it was impossible for everyone to escape. The citizens that were leaving were mainly cultivators or merchants. If they didn't have money, then they had strength. Even if they left Thunder State City, they wouldn't be afraid of not having food to eat. Most of the low and middle class people had not left yet. Their ancestors had lived in Thunder State City, so how would they survive if they left? If they left Thunder State City, they would become rootless duckweed. If they left Thunder State City, their lives would be hard to continue. If they left Thunder State City, they would be homeless. Who would be willing to give up their stable life and embark on a dangerous and unknown journey? 300 years ago, Thunder State City was not inferior to Central State City. Just a few days ago, it was still bustling with people. A few days ago, it was still bustling with activity, not inferior to any other main city. How could such a great city suddenly fall into such a desolate state? But the outbreak of the disaster was just that sudden. The heavens blessed Thunder State. The heavens blessed Thunder State. Countless white-haired old men and children were kneeling on the streets, praying for Thunder State City. Even if they knew the chances were slim, they still hoped for a miracle. The Golden Arrow Marquis sat in the mayor's palace. Facing the prayers and cries of the entire city, he felt a deep sense of guilt. Thunder State had fallen into the abyss and could not be saved. They truly deserved to be the protectors of Thunder State. The calm martial ruler had underestimated the severity of the situation, but it was already too late. Even if the three rulers personally made a move, it would be too late. After all, the Abyss Demon was still growing stronger. Was Thunder State City really going to be destroyed? Marquis. A fully armored general walked in and gave a loud shout. The 3 Thunder State defense camps have been gathered. We are willing to fight to the death, please give your orders. The Golden Arrow Marquis was a little surprised. The camp hasn't collapsed. Thunder State's military spirit, the head of the 8 states. This general loudly shouted, in the face of a disaster, we soldiers should face it with our own bodies, how could we run away? This is what the Marquis has always taught me. We are willing to defend Thunder State City to the death, living and dying with Thunder State City. As long as the city stands, we will live. If the city falls, we will die. Good. 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 The Golden Arrow Marquis gave a sigh. For me, Jiang Xiong, to have this kind of army, my years in Thunder State have not been in vain. This Marquis will defend Lizhou City with you and wait for reinforcements from Royal City. The Golden Arrow Marquis made his decision. Lizhou City could not be lost. If the abyssal demons were to attack Lizhou City, then they would have no choice but to sacrifice themselves. The Western Marquis and Shenfenghe walked in with ugly expressions on their faces. There are cavalry coming back, but Shengguan Feichen, Jiang Shan, and Chu Tian have not been found. The Golden Arrow Marquis' heart sank. He had yet to return. Could it be that something bad had happened to him? The Western Marquis Shengguan Hong said, Golden Arrow Marquis, I want you to send all of Thunder State's soldiers to search the disaster area. You have to find that person for me. Search? How to search? White Jade City is surrounded by demon soldiers. Once the foot soldiers are trapped, it is equivalent to sending them to their deaths. That demon has also awakened, and even the most elite storm cavalry can't get close because their mounts can't withstand the demon's pressure at all. As for the rest, I'm afraid they won't be able to get close beyond 100 miles. The Western Marquis was enraged. Golden Arrow Marquis. You're burning the bridge after crossing the river. We came to save Thunder State and now my son's life and death are unknown, so what are you doing? Are you worthy of us traveling tens of thousands of miles to save him? Please pay attention to your words. Could it be that the Western Marquis' successor is a life, but the lives of the soldiers are not? The lives of normal soldiers are cheap. So what if they die? At worst, Southern State will compensate you. Thunder State's army is protecting the millions of citizens in the city, not sacrificing their lives for a single successor. You have to understand that this Marquis' successor is also missing. The Golden Arrow Marquis was already very sullen and Shengguan Hong was filled with rage. The 2 marquises were about to erupt into conflict. Shenfenghe gave a sigh and prepared to mediate. Marquis. Marquis. There's good news. A guard quickly ran in. Marquis, Marquis. The successors have returned. How many have returned? Shenfenghe quickly asked, what about the others? Shenfenghe, you don't need to worry. The Central State geniuses have returned, they are all fine. The 3 marquises let out a sigh of relief when they heard this. Chu Tian and Jiang Shan rode into Thunder State City. Of the 3,000 cavalrymen that left the city, only 500 had returned. The rest of the cavalrymen were probably already dead. Meng Yingying excitedly ran over. Chu Tian, I knew you would be fine. Chu Tian revealed a faint smile to Meng Yingying. I'm sorry, I've made you worry. Che, I'm not worried about you at all. Meng Yingying shook her head. The thing that can counter you in this world hasn't been born yet. What does a trivial demon count for? This girl was truly heartless. But the one that understood Chu Tian the most was Meng Yingying. At this time, the three marquises quickly ran over. Feichen, what happened to you? The Western Marquis' successor was covered in injuries. He was tied to a horse and was on his last breath. Father, take revenge for me. Shangguan Feichen opened his eyes and saw his father. His handsome face had turned black and his skin was burnt. He immediately shouted out, that bastard Chu Tian wanted to be a deserter. I only chased after him to punish him, but I was ambushed by him. Daring to harm my son, I'll have you pay with your life. The Western Marquis killing intent exploded out like a tsunami. A long pen was about to stab at Chu Tian. Shen Fengho quickly blocked it and grabbed the Western Marquis long pen. The surrounding spectators were all stunned. The safe return of these people should have been a happy matter. But the Western Marquis wanted to personally take Chu Tian's life at this time. Feng Yuntian. You dare block me? Shangguan Hong's eyes turned red as he roared, this Marquis' successor, his precious body has actually been heavily injured. Even you can't protect him today. That's right. Shangguan Hong had to kill Chu Tian no matter what. The Southern Summer 8 Marquises' killing intent was so strong that everyone couldn't help shrinking their necks. Deserter? What a joke. Chu Tian laughed and said, are you talking about yourself? Running away when you meet an opponent you can't beat. Abandoning several thousand cavalry like this. What Southern Summer 8 Marquis, I'm ashamed for you. The Golden Arrow Marquis and Shen Fengho revealed looks of embarrassment. This brat's mouth was not polite at all. Shangguan Hong's eyes turned red, you dare quibble. The situation had completely collapsed and the three marquises were running for their lives, so of course the others had tried to escape. Were they supposed to just stay here and wait to be killed? So saying that the Western Marquis' successor was chasing after Chu Tian as a deserter was not a valid reason at all. Jiang Shan rode his horse forward and said, Sir Western Marquis, I can prove that the successor made a move first. I don't dare. Whoever made a move first and dared to harm this Marquis' successor must die. Western Marquis, please calm your anger. The successor's injuries do not seem to be caused by Chu Tian's sword. The Golden Arrow Marquis was very dissatisfied with the Western Marquis' disregard for the lives of others. He asked Chu Tian with a serious expression, what is going on here? What is going on? See for yourself. Chu Tian took out the large gourd and slapped it. The Hellfire Demon's body was thrown onto the street, instantly taking up half the street. Meng Yingying's mouth fell open in shock, what is this? The Hellfire had been destroyed, but the jade-like dark green shell, as well as the incomparably powerful abyssal aura wrapped around it, could not be replicated. The three marquises had fought with the Hellfire Demon before, so they could recognize it with a single glance. This was the body left behind by the Hellfire Demon. The three marquises were stunned. Shen Fengho revealed a look of wild joy, this is the demon formed from the demon stone, you killed it. With these words, the surrounding citizens were all shocked. This was the main cause of the disaster in Thunder State. Chu Tian looked at the stone that countless people were waiting for and nodded. He loudly announced, the Abyss Demon is dead. Thunder State's danger has been resolved. The scene was filled with a deathly silence. What the hell was going on? The demon that the three marquises could not defeat, how could it be mysteriously killed? This news was too sudden and too shocking, no one was able to react in time. Are you all deaf? Meng Yingying excitedly clenched her fists. Was this unexpected? Not at all, she had guessed it. Chu Tian had never disappointed her before. Even if it was something the three marquises could not deal with, as long as Chu Tian took action, he would definitely be able to deal with it. This was something without any suspense. But, she was still very happy. Meng Yingying shouted for Chu Tian to everyone, the evil demon has been killed by Central State Chu Tian. From now on, Thunder State is safe. You are all safe. Everyone can go home. After saying this, Meng Yingying's eyes became slightly moist and her voice became a bit choked up. This was because personally seeing Thunder State City fall into chaos, the impact it had on her was too great. How many families were broken, how many people were hurt? Too many to count. Meng Yingying knew everyone's pain and helplessness. It was all good now. It was all good, there was no need to be afraid. The children could go home and everyone would no longer have to leave their homes. The citizens of Thunder State City were speechless for a long time. Wasn't this the miracle they had been praying for? When the miracle appeared in front of them, they did not dare believe it. Was this real or not? Was this real or not? The Golden Arrow Marquis looked at the dark green stone body of the Hellfire Demon in a daze. After being silent for a while, he walked in front of Chu Tian and bowed down to him in a very serious manner. You are Thunder State's benefactor. This marquis represents the tens of millions of people in Thunder State in thanking you. Everyone broke out in cheers. The Golden Arrow Marquis gave a definite answer. Long live! Long live! Long live Chu Tian! Long live Thunder State! Central State's hero has saved my Thunder State. Countless citizens were sobbing silently. Benefactor, you have saved my family. Please accept my bow. A tall and large man kneeled down in front of Chu Tian. With him taking the lead, the others all kneeled down. Over 1,000 people kneeled down in front of the Central State people. Nangong Yun, Yun Yao, Chen Bingyu, Feng Kaidai, and Yingying were all deeply moved when they saw this shocking scene. It really wasn't easy. When Chu Xinghe was at his peak, wherever he went, people would kneel down. However, people kneeled down because they feared his might, so they had no choice but to bow down. There had rarely been a scene like this in the southern summer 8 states where the entire city was kneeling down in gratitude. Their hearts were filled with excitement. It was hard to describe what they were feeling right now. There was joy, excitement, and even pride. If they followed their own growth path, they would never be able to do something like this in their entire lives. They had basked in Chu Tian's light and were honored to be able to participate. Being able to have such a glorious moment in their lives, what regrets did they have? Nangong Yun took this chance to shout. Chu Tian did not hesitate to take risks to help Thunder State, but there is a pair of evil father and son that wants to kill Chu Tian time and time again. What do you think we should do? Kill. 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 Whoever dares to touch a single hair on Benefactor's head will become enemies with the citizens of Thunder State. Everyone shouted out with righteous indignation. There was even a voice that roared out, Shengguanhong scram from Thunder State. Scram from Thunder State. Scram from Thunder State. Countless people began to wildly shout out. Shengguanhong was one of the southern summer 8 marquises. The 8 marquises were no different from gods in the eyes of the common people. This kind of scene had never happened in southern Xia before. The Golden Arrow Marquis directly said, I think this matter is very clear. Chu Tian wanted to kill the demon, but the Western Marquis' successor chased after him and was heavily injured. I think this matter was brought about by the Western Marquis' successor. Chu Tian not directly killing him is already giving the Western Marquis enough face. If the Western Marquis still wants to deal with Chu Tian, then he will have to pass through this Jiang first. In this situation, the Western Marquis almost broke his teeth from gritting them, but he had no other choice. He could not take the risk to kill Chu Tian and he could not stop the Golden Arrow Marquis and Shen Fengho, so he could only give up. With the cheers and praises of the countless citizens, the disaster of Thunder State had finally come to an end. Chapter 226. In the next few days, good news came one after another. After the Hellfire Demon was eliminated, the Abyss Demon soldiers became weaker. The Thunder State army was like a hot knife through butter, quickly eliminating them. Everyone completely believed it. This young man from Central State had miraculously killed the Hellfire Demon that even the three Marquises could not kill. No one could explain how this happened, but Chu Tian had done it. Chu Tian was completely famous. This name quickly spread across Thunder State and he became the savior of Thunder State in the eyes of the tens of millions of people. Chu Tian's growth in Central State was also dug up, appearing in the newspapers of Thunder State and entering every household. He became the object of admiration and admiration for the people of Thunder State. Tens of millions of people recognized Chu Tian and because of this, they recognized miracle commerce. A monstrous genius had appeared in southern Xia. Chu Tian looked at the Golden Arrow Marquis and said, "The danger of Thunder State has been solved, but the following problems have not been solved. The land that has been polluted by the Abyss Aura will be hard to use for 100 years. The Golden Arrow Marquis gave a sigh. "This is something that can't be helped. I have two solutions, it all depends on how the Golden Arrow Marquis uses it." "You can clean up the polluted land? Then quickly tell me." The Golden Arrow Marquis' biggest headache was dealing with the aftermath. Thunder State City's polluted land could not be planted with crops or herbs, even survival was a problem. The demon beasts had been infected by the Abyss Aura for a long time, so it was easy for them to mutate and become more aggressive. Who would have thought that Chu Tian would have a solution for this? Chu Tian had already prepared it on the way to Thunder State. He gave the Golden Arrow Marquis 2 scrolls that had detailed solutions written inside. The first is a purification plan that only requires a few common materials. Thunder State can purify the land and reduce the polluted area, saving a lot of fertile land. The second is not to clean up the polluted land. I've left behind a few special materials that can only be grown in soil that contains the Abyss Aura. Because of this, they are very rare and precious. If we can use this in Thunder State, we can turn waste into treasure. This land that brought disaster to Thunder State will become a large source of income for Thunder State. Good. Good. All right. The Golden Arrow Marquis excitedly bowed to Chu Tian again. "Mr. is a peerless genius. Why don't you stay in Liezhou? I am willing to let you be the Lord of Liezhou City." City Lord. Moreover, it was a main city. What a big piece of meat. I appreciate the Marquis's intentions, but Chu Tian's ambitions do not lie here. Chu Tian rejected the Golden Arrow Marquis invitation to stay in Thunder State. "My mission is complete, so I have to return to Central State. I asked the Marquises to quickly report back to Imperial City. It's Southern Xia's blessing to have such a genius in Zhongzhou. Men, go to the treasury and withdraw 200 million gold coins as a gift to Mr. Thunder Province is in a crisis and there are many things that need to be done. I hope that Mr. will not think it is too little." The Golden Arrow Marquis did not want to fall out with Shen Fengho. Since Chu Tian did not agree, he would not force it. He immediately called his vice-general to fetch the gold coins and then said, "When I report back to Imperial City, I will ask for the calm martial ruler's credit." 200 million gold coins was a large amount of money. But in terms of contribution, this reward was a bit too little. But it could be understood. Thunder State's business was not very developed and now that they had suddenly encountered a disaster, money was needed everywhere. Taking out 200 million to give to Chu Tian was already their limit. Shen Fengho, the Golden Arrow Marquis, and the Western Marquis all left Thunder State to report back to Imperial City. Before Shen Fengho left, he gave the Central State cavalry to Chu Tian and had Chu Tian bring the rest of the troops back to Central State. Chu Tian did not stay in Thunder State for long, directly heading to Central State on a boat. "Sir Chu Tian, the giant shark gang's territory is right in front of us. Coming back this quickly, I don't know what those fellows are thinking. Come, let's go." Yunyao said to Chu Tian, "Are you confident?" Chu Tian was filled with confidence. "There's no problem. When the warship slowly entered the windless area of the Four States Lake, it was immediately discovered by the giant shark gang. Not long after, a giant black tortoise slowly came over and there were two people standing on top of it. One was a rough man with a sloppy beard and the other was a tall and thin middle-aged man. These two were true Soul Realm experts, they were Old Fourth U and Old Fifth U. The giant shark gang's attitude changed 180 degrees. When the two of them saw the warship, they respectfully bowed. "We have been waiting for you for a long time. How is it?" Chu Tian crossed his arms as he stood on the deck. "Has the gang leader thought it over?" The gang leader has carefully considered it over the past few days and has decided to accept Mr. Chu Tian's suggestion. Old Fifth U's attitude was very humble and even had a trace of awe. He knew what Chu Tian had done in Thunder State and he knew the power of the person in front of him. "We ask Mr. Chu Tian to enter the island with us." Chu Tian was not in a rush to agree. "What about my soldiers?" "We ask the Central State soldiers to enter the island." Old Fourth U was very clear that the giant shark gang would have to follow this young man in the future, so his attitude changed. "The giant shark gang has prepared a banquet for everyone." Everyone felt that this was unbelievable. When Old Fifth U was captured by Shen Fengho several days ago, his attitude was filled with arrogance. Who would have thought that there would be such a large change in this short period of time? That Old Fourth U was also incomparably arrogant, but now he was like a completely different person. Even with Shen Fengho's abilities, he would not have been able to make such a large change to the fierce pirates. This was all part of Chu Tian's plan and everything was going according to his plan. The giant shark gang occupying the Four States Lake was a scourge in the end. If they could turn bandits into citizens of Southern Summer and create value for Southern Summer, it would be a large merit. The gang leader is a smart person, then we'll just stay here for a bit. Chu Tian was not surprised at all. "Let's set sail. Before we go home, we'll go to the giant shark gang and have a feast. Long live! Long live!" The Central State soldiers all began to shout out. Central State had sent out 1,000 elite cavalrymen, but only 300 of them had survived. It could be seen how tragic the situation was at that time. After these people returned to Central State, they would definitely receive a lot of support, and a promotion and salary increase would be a sure thing. This was all thanks to Chu Tian. If it wasn't for Chu Tian killing the Hellfire Demon, not to mention returning to Central State alive, even if they did, they would have returned in defeat. Returning in defeat was already good enough that they weren't punished, so how could they be rewarded? How could they not be grateful to Chu Tian? Under the escort of several giant turtles, the warship slowly entered the giant shark gang's archipelago. Several thousand giant shark gang members had already been waiting for a long time. When the Central State soldiers docked, all kinds of crabs, prawns, clams, and other delicacies were sent out, very enthusiastically rewarding the Central State soldiers. Over 1,000 giant shark gang elites were lined up in 2 neat rows. From the main entrance to the middle of the mountain, wherever Chu Tian went, the giant shark gang elites would bow down. This kind of grand formation was just a welcome. Ever since the giant shark gang was established, no outsider had ever received this kind of treatment. Chu Tian brought several core members and walked into the cave under the protection of countless giant shark gang elites. The 5 giant shark gang leaders spread out the banquet and the group was immediately led to seats of honor. The giant shark gang's leader, Boss Yu, personally stood up and raised a bowl of wine. In a hoarse voice, he said, "This bowl of wine is to the Central State soldiers. The victory in Thunder State this time is truly a great merit." The other giant shark gang leaders also raised their cups of wine. Their eyes were filled with respect, especially towards Chu Tian. Nangong Yun and the others were very surprised. How did these fellows know about what happened in Thunder State? In such a short period of time, the news shouldn't have spread yet. The giant shark gang's old Yu was a fatty. He stood up and cupped his hands as he said, "I won't hide it from everyone. Actually, after you left, the giant shark gang sent our brothers to investigate the situation, so we already know what happened in Thunder State." When the news was sent back to the giant shark gang, All the giant shark gang members were shocked. Central State's target was a terrifying foreign demon, but what was the most unbelievable was that even the three marquises working together could not defeat that demon. In the end, it was killed by Chu Tian in one fell swoop. There was no doubt about it. Chu Tian had done a great merit this time, so Imperial City would definitely reward him. Therefore, Chu Tian's career would soar. Adding in the fact that Chu Tian's method was effective, it could really break the curse that had plagued the giant shark gang for over 20 years, allowing the giant shark gang members to regain their freedom. The giant shark gang had secretly sent people to inquire about Miracle Commerce, and now they knew that Miracle Commerce was a large company that was rapidly developing, so working for this company was very promising. Boss Yu no longer hesitated. This was a good opportunity that would never come again, so he had to firmly grasp it. Chu Tian laughed, "You've made the right choice. In order to show Miracle Commerce's sincerity, I will also make a small gesture. Yingying, call people to bring it up." After around 10 minutes, several large treasure chests were brought into the cave. Meng Yingying waved her hand, "Open it." When the large treasure chests were opened, countless golden coins appeared in front of them. The giant shark gang members were all stunned, they had never seen this much money before. "This is 100 million gold coins." Chu Tian maintained his rich appearance, "I'll give it to the giant shark gang's brothers in advance. As long as the giant shark gang's brothers follow me, Chu Tian, there will be many opportunities to make money in the future." The giant shark gang high-level members revealed excited expressions. This young master really was a god of wealth. He actually gave out 100 million gold coins without blinking. To the four great families, this 100 million gold coins was not a small amount. To these pirates who lived by plundering, this was a windfall from the heavens. Not only did Chu Tian have the ability and talent, he was also this rich and heroic. The most important thing was that he could remove the giant shark gang's curse and restore the freedom of the 100,000 members of the giant shark gang. The giant shark gang could not think of any reason to reject him. Chapter 227. Boss Yu asked, "I want to know, after Miracle Commerce and the giant shark gang work together, how will we cooperate?" The giant shark gang recognized Miracle Commerce's abilities and decided to cooperate with Miracle Commerce, but as for what kind of cooperation they would use, the giant shark gang was still unclear about it. This was very important, they had to ask this clearly, otherwise how could they feel at ease? If Chu Tian sent the giant shark gang to the battlefield as cannon fodder, who would Boss Yu find to reason with? Isn't the giant shark gang tired of eating fish and prawns for 20 years? Chu Tian did not directly answer the giant shark gang and just looked at the food being brought over. If it wasn't fish, it was prawns, and the wine was also very rare, you should change your tastes. How could they not be tired? The giant shark gang was in the center of the four states lake, and other than fish and prawns, they couldn't find anything else. Most of the time, even salt and oil were rare. Yingying, take out the rest of the canned food. Meng Yingying found several canned food and quickly gave it to the giant shark gang high-level members. The giant shark gang members curiously opened the canned food and were surprised to find that it was demon beast meat. Chu Tian said with a smile, "This is a special food of Miracle Commerce. Everyone should try it before asking this question." The five leaders saw that Chu Tian did not answer their questions and couldn't help feeling a bit anxious, but they did not dare reject Chu Tian. When the giant shark gang high-level members tasted the canned food, they were instantly filled with shock. The canned food's taste was indescribable, and it was made from demon beast meat and herbs. Not only could it fill one's stomach, it could also help a cultivator recover their strength. Eating it for a long time could even increase one's cultivation. This was a good thing. This was definitely a good thing. I think you should understand. Chu Tian slowly said, "Miracle Commerce is a company, and a company needs to make money. This Miracle Commerce canned food is just one of our specialties. I think everyone can see the market for this. We have the technology and productivity, but we lack the sales channels and caravans. The Four States Lake is connected to the Four States, so with Miracle Commerce's ability and the giant shark gang's power, how could we not find a win-win cooperation? Chu Tian gave everyone a peace of mind. If Miracle Commerce continues to invest in the giant shark gang, you will have the resources and money to expand. Chu Tian painted a beautiful picture for the giant shark gang. The current giant shark gang has enough manpower and strength. As long as we get rid of our current shackles, we can immediately create fleets and set up branches in various states, becoming a large mercenary and merchant gang. While the giant shark gang is growing, it will spread Miracle Commerce's influence everywhere. After Miracle Commerce earns more money, it will continue to invest in the giant shark gang. It's just that simple. The giant shark gang members excitedly clenched their fists. Who doesn't want to make it big? To them, the gang was their career. If they could obtain the financial support of Miracle Commerce, with the giant shark gang's strength and background, they would be able to create many branches, recruit new members, and increase their strength, becoming a true first-class gang in southern Xia. Do you still have any doubts? No, we accept Miracle Commerce's cooperation plan. Boss, you did not hesitate. The only thing this old man is worried about is the curse on the giant shark gang. If we are bound by the curse, it will be hard for the giant shark gang to act. I don't know how long it will take for us to return to normal and officially cooperate with Miracle Commerce. No rush, no rush. Chu Tian already guessed that Boss Yu would mention this matter, so he stood up and said, "First bring me to the ruins to have a look." The Yu family's 5 brothers were a group of mercenaries and a small power. Because they obtained a treasure map, they finally found the treasure described on the map in the Four States Lake. This group of over 1,000 mercenaries was filled with excitement after obtaining the treasure, but who would have thought that they would be bound by a terrifying curse, making them stay in the Four States Lake forever, never being able to live on land. In the past 20 years, the 5 brothers had established the giant shark gang and began to expand, finally reaching the current 100,000 members. Although they had become a first-class power in the southern summer country, they did not dare be too high-profile and could only become a group of robbers. Chu Tian was very interested in the ruins, so he decided to personally take a look. Of course Boss Yu would not refuse, as he immediately brought Chu Tian into the ruins. This is the treasure in the ruins. This was a cave buried at the bottom of the lake. In the center, there was an ancient palace. When Chu Tian brought the others in, he saw that the floor, walls, and even the pillars were all made from a strange blue crystal. It was smooth and transparent, just like ice crystals. There are so many cultivation techniques on these walls. When the women walked in, they saw that the crystal-like walls of the sword Dao were filled with ancient characters, as well as many auxiliary diagrams. Clearly, they were ancient cultivation techniques. Boss Yu walked over with his fish-bone cane. This is a cultivation technique left behind by the ancient sea race. Normal humans cannot cultivate it. As for us, although we can cultivate it, it is very hard to decipher these words. There are over 80 cultivation techniques in the ruins and we have only deciphered 8 of them, but it has already given us endless benefits. It was no wonder the giant shark gang could become a gang. These cultivation techniques were indeed not bad inheritances. Everyone had seen Old Fifth use battle strength and he was much stronger than experts of the same level on the water. Chu Tian did not have a deep understanding of the sea race's cultivation techniques, but he could see that some of them were not bad. This isn't hard. Make a copy and bring it to Central State City, I'll find someone to decipher it for you. Boss Yu's heart shook. If they could decipher these cultivation techniques, the giant shark gang's strength would increase. The main hall was empty with nothing of value. Perhaps it had been emptied by the 5 brothers 10-20 years ago. In the center of the main hall, there was an incomparably tall murloc altar that was releasing a mysterious power. With the altar as the center, there was a hexagonal ancient well surrounding it. When everyone walked next to the ancient well, they could clearly feel an ancient power being released, as well as a very rich energy aura. This is the source of the giant shark gang's power. Boss Yu pointed at the ancient well and said, after every sacrifice, the ancient well will release a strange spring water. The giant shark gang's abilities are obtained from drinking this strange spring water. Chu Tian walked to a well and observed it for a few minutes. Each well has the skeleton of a sea race expert sealed in it. This is a kind of burial for the sea race. The spring water that comes out of the well is actually formed from the sea race expert's bone marrow. Although it can quickly increase one's strength, it contains a curse power. If one is not a descendant of the sea race, they will be attacked by their bloodline. Bone marrow. Chu Tian thought of the ancient god's spine he had obtained from the trial tower, so he should be able to extract the divine marrow from it. The bone marrow of the sea race's ancient creatures could change one's bloodline, so would the divine marrow have the same effect? This thought flashed in his mind. Chu Tian felt like he needed to study it. I'll bring some back to study. Chu Tian extracted some of the blue spring water from the bottom of the lake and said to Boss Yu, "How long have you been using this power for?" "An entire 24 years. At this point, Boss Yu slowly took off his mask, revealing a sinister and terrifying face. That face was covered in delicate fish scales, coupled with his pale white hair. He looked like a terrifying monster. Because of the powerful backlash, I know the pain of the curse. Meng Yingying, Nan Gongyun, and the others all sucked in a cold breath. God, this fellow was simply a monster. Chu Tian said with a sigh, "It's too late. I can help you remove the curse, but it will be hard for you to return to your original appearance. Like this, I'm satisfied." What was there to be dissatisfied about? If it continued to worsen, he would die in half a year or even a year. I've already understood the situation. I didn't bring enough materials for this trip, so I can only help you remove the curse. I can't help the others for now. Chu Tian paused and said to Boss Yu, "Come with me to the Central State docks to sign the agreement. I will make a special potion for the spring water. At that time, you just need to pour the potion into the spring and the spring water will no longer have any side effects." Chu Tian had to be careful. He wanted to remove the giant shark gang's curse, but he also wanted to preserve the giant shark gang's sea race bloodline. This was because only the giant shark gang with the sea race's power was the true giant shark gang, allowing them to work for Chu Tian. Otherwise, without the inheritance, how would the giant shark gang form a gang? Mr. has saved the giant shark gang, so you are the giant shark gang's benefactor. Boss Yu was filled with excitement. Chu Tian had saved the giant shark gang and was thinking for them, so how could he have any objections? Chu Tian did not waste any words and immediately used the rest of the divine blood to remove the curse from the giant shark gang's high-level members. The 5 leaders of the giant shark gang were free and Chu Tian had given them a new lease of life. On the second day, the fleet set off again. In addition to the 5 warships in Central State, there were 4 more large ships. The 5 giant shark gang leaders and the main members of the giant shark gang, around 3,000 elites, were all heading to Central State. The giant shark gang's elites were very strong, with most of them being in the 8th or 9th body refinement layer. They also had a high percentage of awakened soul cultivators and were not weaker than the storm cavalry. Even in southern Xia, they were a very strong force, undefeatable in water battles. This was also the reason why Chu Tian valued the giant shark gang. This cooperation was a milestone for miracle commerce. With the giant shark gang's resources and influence, a fleet that covered southern Xia would be formed. Miracle commerce would build special docks and factories on all continents, using the waterways to spread their influence. The giant shark gang itself was very strong. As long as they could wash their name clean, they would immediately become a first-class sect. At least no one would dare provoke them on the water. If they could protect Miracle Commerce's waterways, it would become an important chip for Miracle Commerce. Other powers dare provoke me? Alright, if you have the guts, then don't use boats anymore. Anyways, all the rivers and lakes in southern Xia will be taken care of by me, Chu Tian. In the early morning, the fleet arrived in Central State. Long live. Meng Yingying stood on the deck and looked at the Central State docks in the distance. She raised her hands and excitedly shouted, "We're finally back. Central State is still the best. Although Meng Yingying had not fought on the front lines, she had seen the disaster in Thunder State. This made Meng Yingying very emotional. The world was not peaceful. Even if one lived a normal life, they would not be able to stop a disaster from falling from the sky. So, she had to become stronger. With enough influence and strength, she could protect herself and the people around her. Meng Yingying realized the importance of strength and influence. She swore that she would become stronger and make miracle commerce stronger. Chapter 228. The ships all docked. The giant shark gang elites did not have their curses removed, so they could only stay at the Central State docks. It was not convenient for them to disembark, so Chu Tian brought the 5 Yu family brothers into the city. The Central State Army's triumphant return naturally caused a stir in Central State. Although what happened in Thunder State had not reached Central State yet, with the return of these soldiers, the news would quickly spread. Chu Tian would be in the limelight again and his image would rise to another level. After all, what the 3 marquises could not do was done by Chu Tian. Saving the citizens of Thunder State was a great merit. The changes in Central State City were very large. The city's main streets were all equipped with electric lights and the public places were built with broadcasting towers. As long as one walked into the square or the busy commercial street, they would be able to hear beautiful music. All of this greatly enriched the lives of the Central State citizens. These were all changes brought by miracle commerce. Chu Tian was even more surprised that many Central State citizens had a strange black piece of equipment. It was around 1.5 feet long and weighed around 10 pounds. This piece of equipment released the sound of Miracle Commerce's broadcasting station. Is this a portable radio? This must be the young Miss masterpiece. The radios and phonographs Chu Tian made were large and heavy, so they couldn't be carried around. The young Miss, Meng Qinggu, had always wanted to improve them. Chu Tian had taken out a mechanical technique book from the trial tower and the young Miss had personally translated it for Tong Xiaoyu. Then she had studied with Tong Xiaoyu how to change the size of the equipment. They had only been there for a week and they had already made a finished product. This efficiency was not bad. The portable radio was 1/8 of the size of a normal radio. Although the signal reception was a bit weaker and the speaker was a bit weaker, it greatly increased the portability and made radios more popular. Chu Tian establishing a research institute was a very wise decision. He was only responsible for the core technology. As for testing and improving it, that was all for the research institute to do. This is Central State City. It's much more prosperous than 20 years ago. Boss Yu's 5 brothers stepped on the solid ground and walked on the streets of Central State City. The city gave them a strange feeling as if it was a lifetime ago and there was a feeling of tears filling their eyes. Over 20 years. An entire 20 years. How many 20 years did a person have? This was the first time he swaggered through the streets of Central State City. Now that everything was finally over, a brand new life was about to begin. The 5 of them stood in front of the small castle-like headquarters of Miracle Commerce. They were once again shocked by the wealth of Miracle Commerce. This kind of sturdy and imposing headquarters was not something a normal person could possess. A beautiful woman in white came out to welcome him. Eldest Miss, Eldest Miss. Chu Tian walked into the Miracle Commerce headquarters and immediately shouted without any embarrassment, "Long time no see, I really missed you to death." You seem to have gotten fatter. Meng Qinggu spat. I'm busy with the Chamber of Commerce and the Research Institute. How could I have gained weight? Don't talk nonsense. Really? Chu Tian stared at Eldest Miss seriously, his eyes sweeping over her chest and buttocks. You've really gained weight. Ouch. Meng Yingying's little hand fiercely pinched Chu Tian and then she threw herself at the young Miss, elder sister, Yingying also misses you. Is Thunder State still good? The people of Thunder State are too pitiful. I really don't know what to do when we meet this kind of disaster. Silly girl, don't say such inauspicious words. Meng Qinggu knew that her little sister was shocked, but she was also confused. Why did you come back so quickly? Hi, it wasn't a big matter. I, Sir Chu Tian, personally came out. How could it not be easy? How could Meng Qinggu not know this fellow's personality? Could the words he said be trusted? But it was good that it was solved, so there was no need to worry. When Meng Qinggu wanted to ask about the situation, she suddenly saw 5 people dressed strangely. These 5 are. You're talking about them? Chu Tian did not seem to care as he said, they were brought from the countryside and haven't seen much of the world, but they have a lot of brothers under them. They are prepared to work for Miracle Commerce and the young miss. Boss Yu and the others revealed awkward expressions. What did he mean by brought from the countryside? Who was this girl? Wasn't Chu Tian the head of Miracle Commerce? Why did he keep calling her the young miss? It was truly strange. What are you still staring at? Chu Tian pointed at Meng Qinggu. This great beauty is the vice chairman and the person in charge of Miracle Commerce. Whether the giant shark gang can do well in the future will depend on her support. Boss Yu and the others trembled as they quickly cupped their hands to Meng Qinggu. Greetings, Vice Chairman. Chu Tian continued to say, not only is the young Miss chest big, she is also very smart. Following her will not be a bad thing. If you keep acting like this, I'm going to get angry. Meng Qingwu's cheeks turned hot. Everyone, don't listen to his nonsense. This one is Meng Qinggu. I hope that senior will take care of me. Chu Tian revealed an embarrassed smile. Boss Yu, didn't I tell you to copy the cultivation technique? Take it out for the young miss to see and you'll know that I'm not lying. The young miss is a cultured person. Boss Yu revealed a look of joy and gave Second Old Yu a look. Second Old Yu placed the shark skin bag on the ground and took out a thick scroll. He respectfully placed it in front of Meng Qinggu. I asked the vice chairman to take a look. If you can decipher the contents, the giant shark gang will be filled with gratitude. Meng Qinggu could feel that these people were not normal. Not to mention that Chu Tian had personally brought them back to headquarters. How could they be ordinary people? She immediately opened the scroll and looked over it. She knit her brows and felt a slight pain in her head. The strange words suddenly became familiar and Meng Qinggu read it in the sea race's language. Ah! You can really decipher it. The vice chairman is a true genius. The 5 brothers were filled with excitement. Nonsense, don't you see that you're the vice chairman of Miracle Commerce? Chu Tian waved his hand at the 5 of them. Leave the cultivation technique here and I'll give it to you after deciphering it. You can leave first. Nangong, Yingying, bring them to see Miracle Commerce's invention, as well as take a look at the Yun Sex Research Center and Qilin Hall. All right. Meng Yingying and Nangong Yun brought the 5 Yu family brothers away. The 5 brothers wanted to take a look around and personally see Miracle Commerce's abilities. After all, the giant shark gang would have to rely on Miracle Commerce for a long time, so they could take this chance to understand Miracle Commerce's potential and foundation. It would be good for their hearts to be prepared. Meng Qinggu rolled her eyes at him. With your skills, you can even decipher this cultivation technique, but you're giving this favor to me. It seems like these people are very important. Ha, ha, young miss is too serious. I just find it troublesome. After Chu Tian said this, he suddenly stopped smiling. Has anything happened recently? Central State City is very calm and the 3 great families have not shown any signs of making a move. When Meng Qinggu said this, her black brows slightly knit, but the more it is like this, the more uneasy my heart is. This is a good chance, but the 3 great families are still so calm. This means that they already have other plans, perhaps they are preparing to make a big move. Other than that, I've found a few clues. What is it? The elites of the 3 great families are being called back. Although it is very secretive, it was still discovered by me. They are calling back their elites, perhaps they are preparing a storm. It's fine if they don't make a move this time, but once they do, it will be a life and death battle. The 3 great families did not have enough energy or patience to test Miracle Commerce's bottom line. They would definitely place their hopes on this last gamble. It's been hard on the young miss. Chu Tian revealed a faint smile and did not place it in his heart. They are secretly gathering their strength and we are also steadily becoming stronger. The speed at which we grow will far surpass their imagination. Not to mention anything else, just those 5 country bumpkins are enough to make the 3 great families suffer. It's best if they don't make a move, but if they do, we'll counterattack. Counterattack? Such big words. Miracle Commerce had developed to this point. Although it had become the 5th great power, it had the support of the Yun sect and Chu Tian's fame. It was even better than the 3 great families. But with the 3 great families working together, Miracle Commerce did not have the confidence to win. Chu Tian had just come back from Thunder State and he had this kind of big words. Those 5 strange people, they were not simple at all. Chu Tian then asked, how is Miracle Commerce's development? Meng Qinggu seemed to be very familiar with the situation of the company's development. Everything was going smoothly now. Miracle Commerce had developed 23-dimensional manufacturing factories and their current production had greatly increased. The South Sky City's production line was gradually being pushed to the side and they were only beginning to develop into a battery manufacturing base. Central State had become the company's main production base. Our products will have an explosive growth and the 10-can food factories will be completed soon. We will be purchasing large amounts of demon beast meat and other ingredients and we will be opening 5 more large restaurants in the city. Meng Qinggu was very excited because the company's development was too fast. Central State City is gradually becoming Miracle Commerce's industrial base. The newly established Yun Sect Research Facility is performing very well and the pay-to-channel technology has already been completed. Meng Qinggu was also leading some new research. For example, the improvement of the radio and phonograph. Meng Qinggu invested 10 million gold coins and created a design department in the Yun sect. She hired several talented people with high salaries and made Tong Xiaoyu the head of the design department. The design department was not even completed yet. In just a few short days, the radio and phonograph had been successfully improved. Meng Qinggu was prepared to continue improving and combine the radio and phonograph into one. She had even thought of a name for the new product, the magnetic recording machine. She would make the radio and broadcast function appear on a portable device. Whether it was the radio or phonograph, the structure was not complicated. It mainly consisted of an outer shell, a magnetic sound stone, a source energy battery, and several source energy arrays. Because the structure was very simple, it was not hard to combine the two. Meng Qinggu believed that it would only take a few days to complete. Chu Tian nodded, not bad. There is only one thing that is not going well. Meng Qinggu knit her brows and said, even now, we still haven't bought all the materials needed to refine the sacred pill. What's going on? It must be the 3 great families obstructing us. They have more channels than us and we can't buy these materials on the market, so we can only shelve the sacred pill. These fellows clearly don't want me to improve. At this time, Yunyao rushed in, have you heard? Chu Tian's head was filled with confusion, heard what? Yunyao said with a serious expression, the Chu family knows that you've returned to Central State City, so they have officially issued you a challenge. Oh. When? Tomorrow at noon. Meng Qingwu's beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of anger. Did the Chu family not care about their last bit of integrity? On one side, they announced that Chu Xinghe would challenge Chu Tian, giving Chu Tian time to break through. On the other side, they did something behind the scenes, not giving Chu Tian a chance to refine the sacred pill. Now that Chu Xinghe had recovered from his injuries and Chu Tian had returned to the city, while Shen Fenghe was not there, they directly issued a challenge to Chu Tian. What will come will come. Help me pass the message. Chu Tian had a serious expression. Chu Tian, accept the challenge. Chapter 229. The Chu Family Headquarters. 800 Chu family swordsmen were standing in an orderly manner in the courtyard. He was wearing a dark red light leather armor and a black cloak. His left hand was holding a sword, and his right knee was on one knee. He wore a tight black mask, revealing only a pair of eyes that shone brightly. This was a team that was as sharp as a knife. In front of the 800 silent swordsmen stood a middle-aged man. He was the head of the Chu family, Chu Shanhe. Chu Shanhe looked at the 800 swordsmen in the courtyard and couldn't help but sigh. The 800 most elite people of the family were the foundation of the family. They were scattered all over the country, secretly protecting the family's businesses. However, in just a week, they had all been urgently called back by the family head. The Chu family had not made such a big move in the past few decades. This was an important operation that concerned the prosperity of the Chu family. A hale and hearty old man with a sharp gaze walked out. On his back was a treasured sword that reeked of blood. It was the great elder of the Chu family, Chu Shi. Is everyone here? Chu Shanhe cupped his hands towards Chu Shi. Miracle Commerce's Meng Qingwu's methods are not simple. It took a lot of effort to hide from her eyes, but now everyone is here. Chu Shi didn't care about Meng Qingwu. This woman has some ability in running the company, but that's all she can do. The stronger Chu Tian is, the stronger she is, and the stronger Miracle Commerce is. However, once we get rid of Chu Tian, Miracle Commerce won't be a problem and she won't be a threat anymore. 800 Chu family elites had gathered to take drastic measures. Chu Shanhe frowned and said, "Are we really going to choose this time to have a decisive battle with Miracle Commerce? The current Miracle Commerce isn't the same as before. Not only is its influence spreading quickly, but it also has the support of the people in the city. Because of this, we should make a move earlier. Miracle Commerce will become a power that we can't fight against sooner or later. We can't wait for that day to come. Therefore, we should take advantage of this chance to swallow up Miracle Commerce in one fell swoop. The family will once again grow stronger, otherwise we will completely sink. This is a life and death battle for the rise and fall of the Chu family." Chu Shanhe's expression turned solemn. "Yes." Chu Shi's expression became more and more serious. Now is the best time. First, Shen Fenghe would have to report to Wangcheng, and Chu Tian would have one less powerful backer. Secondly, according to the urgent report from Thunder State, Chu Tian has made a great contribution in Thunder State. His reputation will definitely rise again. At that time, it will be even more difficult to make a move against him. We need to take advantage of this matter before it spreads. What? Did he do something great in Thunder Province? Chu Shanhe was a bit stunned, but then he said with a bit of hesitation, "Like this, the calm martial ruler might reward Chu Tian. If we make a move against him now, wouldn't we offend the calm martial ruler? Even if he offended Shen Fenghe, he could not offend the calm martial ruler. The three monarchs were not people that local clans could contend against." Chu Shi shook his head. "You don't need to worry about this. The reward has not been given yet and I've been a retainer of the Dongfang family. As long as we bribe a few people from the Dongfang family, they will speak up for us in Wangcheng. Not to mention that Chu Tian will die on the battlefield under Xinghe's sword. The calm martial ruler will definitely notice Xinghe's talent. With the calm martial ruler's personality, losing a Chu Tian is already unrecoverable. He will not lose another Chu Xinghe." Did this mean they still had to rely on Chu Xinghe to understand? At this time, a messenger from the Chu family quickly came to reporting to the family head and great elder, "Miracle Commerce has officially responded. Chu Tian will accept the challenge tomorrow." Good. Too good. They had seen through Chu Tian's personality. This person truly had talent and potential, but he was too arrogant. Chu Tian straightforwardly accepted the challenge, so things naturally became much easier. Because the three great families had sealed off the materials, Chu Tian did not have enough money to buy the materials, so he could not refine a saint pill. If he did not have the help of the saint pill, he could not break through to the illustrious soul realm in this short period of time. If he fought with his void soul realm strength, Chu Tian would not have any chance of winning. Chu Shi said, "Tell this news to Xinghe and take a look at his current situation." No need to trouble yourself, I already know. A cold voice came from the back courtyard. Following this, a power erupted like a volcano, suddenly coming from the room. Several hundred flying swords flew into the sky, shattering the roof. Just like a peacock spreading its tail, it suddenly bloomed. Countless swords interweaved together, forming the shape of a lotus. A young man filled with an unparalleled aura and sharpness was currently standing in the center of this lotus. A golden flood dragon surrounded him, releasing a strong might that illuminated the entire Chu family. Chu Xinghe. The Chu family members revealed looks of wild joy. Chu Xinghe had finally come out of seclusion. Chu Xinghe had completely recovered and his aura became even sharper. The Chu family members were filled with excitement. That unparalleled heavenly sword young master had returned. Chu Shanhe and Chu Shi revealed looks of satisfaction. Not only had Chu Xinghe recovered from his injuries, he had also become even stronger. His cultivation had broken through the peak 4th awakened soul layer and reached the 5th awakened soul layer. Not only that, Chu Xinghe's Imperial Flood Dragon transformation art had also reached the perfection realm. The current Chu Xinghe was several times stronger than when he was in the trial tower. There was no doubt. If Chu Xinghe used his full strength, he would not be weaker than his father Chu Shanhe. Chu Xinghe was young, but he already had the qualifications to compete with the older generation in the true soul realm. After breaking, he would be reborn from the flames. Chu Xinghe had become even stronger. Chu Shi broke out in laughter. Xing he is already this strong, the day of him becoming a marquis is just around the corner. First we'll kill that brat Chu Tian and step on his corpse to reach a higher position. Chu Xinghe slowly descended. Chu Xinghe was very clear on Chu Tian's strength. Even if this fellow was a monstrous talent, he could not have improved that much in such a short period of time. Even if Chu Xinghe had stagnated for many days, he would not lose to Chu Tian. Not to mention that Chu Xinghe was not the same as before. The current Chu Xinghe, not to mention Central State, even if it was the younger generation geniuses of the 8 states, how many of them could catch his eye? Chu Xinghe was not even 30 years old yet. Even the Southern Summer 8 marquises did not have Chu Xinghe's strength when they were at this age. If Chu Xinghe was born in a marquis family, he could directly inherit the marquis position. If Chu Xinghe was born in one of the 3 great families, he would only need to gain merits on the battlefield for 2 years and he could directly become a marquis before he was 30. The Central State Chu family was not considered strong in southern Xia, so it was not easy for them to become a marquis. However, with a genius like Chu Xinghe appearing, becoming a marquis family was only a matter of time. Miracle Commerce does not know about Xinghe's breakthrough, so this matter must be kept a secret. Chu Shi said this and then added, in order to be safe, I want to see my 2 old enemies. Chu Shi left the Chu family. The old enemies Chu Shi mentioned were not others, they were the 2 great elders of the Luo family and the Ye family. These 2 elders had returned to Central State City 3 days ago, but the news had been blocked, so the people of Central State City did not know about it. Even the middle and lower class members of the 2 families did not know about it. Chu Shi and the 2 of them met in a secret location. The Ye family's great elder's name was Ghost Eye Wolf Yi. His appearance was that of an old and thin man with a black eye patch covering one eye. He held a long iron staff in his hand. Although his appearance was not very eye-catching, and he was even a blind cripple, Yi was actually a legendary figure in the mercenary world. The Luo family's great elder, Giant Spirit Lion, Luo Wanxiang. Perhaps because of the influence of his family's cultivation technique, Luo Wanxiang was just like the other members of the Luo family. His body was very strong and his face was full of muscles. Although he was old, he was still strong and his hair was not completely white. His arms were long and strong and his palms were thick and large, covered in black hair. Even if it was steel, he would still be able to crush it. Chu Shi looked at his 2 old enemies and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. I never thought that there would be a day when us 3 old fellows would join hands. Yi said in a hoarse voice, the changes of the world are not fixed, it all depends on benefits. If there are benefits, we gather, and if there are no benefits, we scatter. What else can I say? Because one's cultivation base was deep, they could slow down their aging to a certain degree. However, these three old fellows were already over 80 years old and had spent half their lives fighting for benefits. They had already become old foxes with deep schemes that were hard to measure. That's right. This time we have split the Yun family and miracle commerce. This is the time for our family to soar. Chu Shi did not waste words. Are you prepared? Luo Wanxiang said in a confident voice. 500 elites of the Luo family and 3,000 law enforcers from the supervisor's palace will ambush the Miracle Commerce headquarters. Once we receive news from the arena, we will immediately attack Miracle Commerce and destroy their foundation. The Ye family's wolf cavalry will ambush the camp outside of Central State City. Once Xiong Wuji attempts to rescue them, the Ye family will be responsible for stopping this force. Yi gently tapped his iron staff and softly said, 500 blood wolf mercenaries will ambush the Yun family. Once the plan begins, we will immediately attack the Yun family and this old man will personally kill Yun Tianhe. Good. Chu Shi slapped the table and stood up. The Chu family's 800 death-sworn swordsmen will infiltrate the arena. If there are any unexpected changes, we will first kill Chu Tian and decide the overall situation. Then it's decided. What about the mayor? No need to worry, the mayor will not stop us. Rather he will secretly help us. As long as we get rid of the thorn in our side like Chu Tian, the result will be good for everyone. The three old men's eyes met and they finally reached an agreement. After a hurricane, only the grass would remain. Now was the time to counterattack. The three families had tolerated Chu Tian for several weeks. Now that the time had come, they would use a thunderous method to eliminate this power that should not have appeared. Along with the Yun family that did not know what was good for them, they would completely eliminate them from the central state map. Everything. There would be results tomorrow. The three great remote elders and the three families would all come out. Central State would welcome a storm of blood. When the dust settled, a new order would be established, the last man standing would be the king. Chapter 230. Waves rose in Central State City once again. The news of Chu Tian's battle with Chu Xinghe was like a storm that swept through Central State City overnight. Chu Tian's mind was not distracted and he immediately went into closed-door cultivation. Because if he fought with a peak triple awakened soul, he would die without a doubt if he didn't win. The Chu family understood this point, so they shamelessly issued a challenge. But Chu Tian understood this point, so he couldn't blindly throw away his life. He had to at least reach the illustrious soul realm. The three great families thought that they could stop Chu Tian from breaking through by sealing off the materials, but they were too naive. They never would have thought that Chu Tian would have a fortuitous encounter in Thunder State. When Chu Tian released his thick spiritual energy, he broke through the bottleneck without any suspense. The energy extracted from the Hellfire Demon's Abyss Fire Seed allowed Chu Tian to easily break through to the fourth awakened soul layer. Chu Tian went from the early awakened soul realm to the intermediate awakened soul realm. This was a qualitative leap. Not only was his spirit energy several times thicker, all his other aspects had increased. Was the strength of the illustrious soul realm enough? Of course it wasn't. The Chu family had placed all their hopes on this battle, so they would do their best to support him. Chu Xinghe's recovery speed was much faster than expected. It could be seen from this point that the Chu family had used some amazing medicine. So according to Chu Tian's guess, Chu Xinghe had already reached the fifth awakened soul layer. A normal fifth awakened soul layer cultivator would not be placed in Chu Tian's eyes. Shangguan Feichen was a talented successor, so how could Chu Tian not easily deal with him? Only this Chu Xinghe could not be careless. Chu Xinghe was the head of the Central State 4 young masters, but he was far ahead of the other 3 young masters. His innate talent and abilities were very strong and his man and sword as one attack had left a deep impression on Chu Tian. Even a 6th awakened soul layer expert would find it hard to block it. If Chu Xinghe really reached the fifth awakened soul layer, then Chu Tian's chances of winning with his current fourth awakened soul layer strength wouldn't exceed 30%. He couldn't take this risk. If he didn't fight, then he would have to have at least a 50% chance of winning. Chu Tian was not a reckless person. Since he dared to accept the challenge, it meant that he was confident. But where did his confidence come from? The first was the main source spirit. Chu Tian had always been very cautious in using the power of his main source spirit. On one hand, he was limited by his current strength and it would be hard for him to control it, but the most important reason was that once his source spirit was revealed, it would cause a stir. It would be bad if he was targeted by some old monster on the continent. Therefore, unless he was really forced into a corner, Chu Tian would not easily take risks before he truly grew up. The second was his methods. Chu Xinghe was perhaps a genius. But, Chu Tian's superiority was something that he could never hope to match. Before Chu Tian had transmigrated, he had once stood among the peak experts. Chu Tian's experience, Chu Tian's knowledge, and Chu Tian's methods were things that no one in this era could compare to. A pile of crystal-clear fragments was poured out of the gourd. Each fragment contained an incomparably strong abyss demon energy. This was the demon's heart left behind by the Hellfire demon. Chu Tian stared at these fragments and slowly closed his eyes. A deep and powerful cultivation technique appeared in his mind, Demon God 9 transformations. This was the cultivation technique that Chu Tian cultivated in his previous life. Because the conditions were not ripe, he couldn't immediately cultivate it. But this did not prevent him from changing the cultivation technique he was currently cultivating. This demon's heart would become a key material. This was also the main reason why Chu Tian went to Thunder State. While Chu Tian was in closed-door cultivation, Meng Qinggu began to receive some disturbing news. There were more and more signs that the three great families would launch a storm of attacks against Miracle Commerce. This duel was the last chance for the Chu, Luo, and Yi families to turn the tables. Although killing Chu Tian in the duel was the best result because of the Southern Xia's martial traditions, life and death in the duel were up to the heavens. Even if one was killed, it would be voluntary. From Shenfengho to the calm martial ruler, they could not use this as a reason to punish the Chu family. But with Meng Qingwu's understanding of the three families, she knew that they would not place all their bets on one place. Outside the arena, there would definitely be a backup plan. Meng Qingwu immediately made a decision. Yun Yao, go back to the Yun family and stay with old Yun. Have the family gather the elites and move the important resources and assets. Prepare for battle. But tomorrow's battle with Chu Tian. Don't come to watch the battle tomorrow. Yun Yao knit her brows. Is that all right? If the three families make a move, the Yun family will be the first to bear the brunt. Meng Qingwu's attitude was very firm. Remember, you have to prepare for a storm of blood, you have to protect your own safety. Yun Yao was very respectful towards Meng Qingwu. This woman relied on Chu Tian to reach her current position, but Miracle Commerce could not leak a single drop under her management. This was enough to show Meng Qingwu's skills. Meng Qingwu gave another order, write 2 letters. One is for Kaidai, telling her to stay in the Carefree Valley tomorrow and not return to Central State City. The other is for the great General Xiong Wuji, telling him to stay in the camp and deal with any emergencies. Have Lin Mu, Fang Han, and the underworld mercenaries return to the headquarters. Have Chen Bingyu take charge of the defenses. Her elder sister was unprecedentedly serious. Meng Yingying realized the severity of the situation. What can I do to help? Yingying, stay in the underground safe room tonight. Without my orders, you're not allowed to come out, do you understand? This. There's no room for discussion. Meng Qingwu looked at the eager Nangong Yun. Nangong, I know you're not weak, so I'll leave Yingying's safety to you. With Nangong Yun's temper, if she was told to take refuge, wouldn't she jump up? Meng Qingwu used the name of protecting Meng Yingying to have her obediently stay here and not run around. Nangong Yun had a bitter expression, but she couldn't go against Meng Qingwu's words, so she could only helplessly agree. Meng Qingguo made a series of arrangements, for example reminding the families to be careful and not to watch the battle. Even if the worst situation happened, at least they would have a precaution. The next day, the citizens did not realize the storm that was coming, they only knew that there was going to be an incomparable battle in Central State. These two people were both super geniuses that only appeared once in 100 years in Central State City. There would only be one crown, so who would it fall on? How could they not watch this battle? The Central State stage was once again filled with people. The number of people watching this battle far surpassed the battle against Luo Xianglong and Yi Tianlang. The citizens felt this was very strange. Where did the live broadcast of Miracle Commerce go? This was a very interesting and exciting program, so why didn't the battle continue? Meng Qingguo stood under the stage. When her eyes swept across the audience, she slightly knit her brows. She had clearly warned the families, but they did not take it seriously at all and still came to watch. Vice Chairman, you can be assured that we brothers will ensure the chairman's safety. Looking around Meng Qingguo, a hoarse voice sounded in her ears. Boss Yu was dressed tightly, wearing an old and worn mask and holding a long bone cane in his hand. His white and sparse hair flowed down his hood to his chest and that skinny and stooped body was not conspicuous in the crowd at all. Can your four brothers protect Chu Tian? Meng Qingguo was a bit worried about the strength of the 5 Yu brothers. There was no doubt that Boss Yu was the strongest. I have the 18 divine blood-eaten corpses and my defense is not bad, normal people will find it hard to approach me. You don't need to worry about my safety, just go protect Chu Tian. Boss Yu said in a hoarse voice, I can't, the chairman has ordered me to protect you. Meng Qingguo gave a slight sigh and could only nod her head. Meng Qingguo did not show any signs of abnormality. She pretended to be calm and composed. Her eyes stared intently at the huge martial arts arena because the curtains were about to open. Dong, 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 dong. The bronze bell on the stage was rung. Everyone stood up and cheered. The battle of the strongest kings, the life and death battle between two mortal enemies, was about to begin. A golden sword, like a meteor, suddenly fell from the sky and pierced into the arena. Then, a figure landed lightly from the sky. His feet landed firmly on the hilt of the sword. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared coldly at the other side. This youth was around 24 or 25 years old. He wore a white jade crown and a blue jade robe. His face was resolute and his eyes were cold. With a cloak fluttering in the wind, he had a dignified appearance and an ethereal temperament, just like a sword immortal descending to the world. Chu Xinghe. Chu Xinghe. Chu Xinghe. Waves of cheers came from all directions. Although Chu Xinghe had suffered a setback in the trial tower, Chu Xinghe's popularity in Central State City was something that even the famous Chu Tian could not compare to. Chu Xinghe had been famous for many years. Chu Tian's rise had only lasted for a month or two. Although Chu Tian had won the support and worship of countless citizens, in terms of foundation and fame, there was still a gap between him and Chu Xinghe. Chu Xinghe had never been defeated by anyone before. For Chu Xinghe to be able to easily challenge those stronger than him, this was a true heaven-sent genius. Chu Tian challenged Chu Xinghe with a lower cultivation base. Could he really create another miracle? The young man slowly walked onto the stage. Different from his usual low-key blue robe, he was wearing a gorgeous white robe. From head to toe, there was not a speck of dust on him. His beautiful eyes were handsome and his eyes were bright, giving off a kind of otherworldly feeling. His temperament did not lose to Chu Xinghe at all. If Chu Xinghe was a golden sword, then Chu Tian was a floating white cloud. Chu Tian carried a large gourd and a treasure sword on his back. A snow-white little fox was lying on his shoulder, taking a nap. It was not interested in the battle that was about to happen at all. Chu Tian. Chu Tian. Chu Tian. Fanatical cheers came from all around. Chu Tian's supporters were all young people. Chu Tian's legendary rise had already become the idol of countless young people. Dang! A particularly loud and clear bell was rung. Chapter 231. The match had officially begun. Schwa. Chu Tian slowly pulled out the netherworld sword and said with a relaxed expression, "The heavenly sword young master's recovery speed is quite fast. In just a few short weeks, you've returned to your heroic state, it really is surprising." Chu Xinghe slowly opened his eyes and his deep and sharp eyes stared over. Kang, kang, kang. With a series of sword cries, the several dozen golden swords slowly opened up like a fan, instantly forming a cold barrier behind Chu Xinghe. "Your moves are still so beautiful." Chu Tian shook his head, "But it's just a golden exterior." Chu Xinghe disdained to argue with Chu Tian. He kicked out. The golden sword that was stabbed into the ground flew back up. Grabbing it, the tip of the sword pointed out and a powerful energy surged out. His blue robe fluttered without any wind and the swords flew into the sky from his back, letting out an ear-piercing cry like the cry of tens of thousands of eagles. The bustling martial arts arena instantly fell into a deathly silence. The expressions on everyone's faces froze. They all had wide-open eyes as they swallowed their saliva, looking like they had seen a ghost. Chu Xinghe seemed to have turned into a general and the flying swords were his soldiers. As the dozens of swords soared into the sky, they suddenly multiplied. Almost in an instant, they turned into thousands of flying swords. The dense golden sea of swords was filled with a sharp sword aura. The sharp sword tips pointed downwards. Just the powerful air pressure alone was enough to cause fine cracks to appear on the ground. It had the aura of Pan Bo, who could crush mountains and rivers. 10,000 swords descend. Chu Xinghe's cold voice that was like that of a deity echoed out. The countless swords were like soldiers that had received an order as they all turned golden and fell down on Chu Tian like rain. The strong aura, the terrifying whistling sound, the unimaginable speed, and the aura that was like a storm, made everyone hold their breath. Too fast. Too strong. Just from this storm of attacks, everyone could tell that Chu Xinghe had broken through and was now in the fifth awakened soul layer. In the past, Chu Xinghe could defeat a triple awakened soul expert with his first awakened soul layer cultivation. But when Chu Xinghe was at the fourth awakened soul layer, he could easily defeat a fifth awakened soul layer cultivator and he could even fight against a sixth awakened soul layer cultivator. Now, Chu Xinghe had reached the fifth awakened soul layer. Of course, that was not all. Chu Xinghe's sword technique was more violent and sharp than before. Obviously, his cultivation technique had also improved by leaps and bounds. Chu Xinghe was almost invincible in the illustrious soul realm. Even the three family heads were not his match. Too powerful. He was too strong. Compared to Chu Xinghe, the other three young masters were like clay chickens and pottery dogs. The heart lamp was suddenly ignited. A wave of divine sense was released. Chu Xinghe could feel the boundless power of his divine sense, and a cold smile appeared on his face. What a fool, it was useless. The sword array had no blind spots, and no matter what he did, he couldn't dodge it. Being strangled by 10,000 swords was his only ending. How could Chu Tian not see this? This storm of sword array had reached a perfect level. With a high density of attacks, it covered any blind spots. Even with divine sense, he could not find a flaw to break through. Since there was no way to dodge, then he might as well not dodge. A jet-black ancient sword was released with a destructive might, causing Chu Tian's aura to increase by several times. The black ancient sword source spirit seemed to be connected to the wilderness. The moment the demon god's sword appeared, the aura of the demon god appeared in the world. A wild energy that could destroy anything was released from his source spirit. Pang! The countless swords fell onto Chu Tian's body and were immediately affected by the wild energy. They shattered like glass and fell onto Chu Tian's body like rain. Even if one or two swords fell onto his body, they were shattered by the starlight. The people from the three great families revealed looks of shock. Illustrious Soul Realm, this was the strength of an illustrious Soul Realm expert. How did Chu Tian become this strong? This was impossible. Everyone could clearly see that Chu Tian had broken through to the fourth awakened soul layer and was a genuine illustrious soul realm cultivator. But even if he was an illustrious soul realm expert and his source spirit had been strengthened, it didn't make sense for him to be this strong. Using the sword chi from his source spirit sword to create a strong sword pressure, when those flying swords flew over, just this pressure was enough to crush the sword chi. Chu Tian calmly stood in the rain of swords. Chu Xinghe looked at him with an expressionless face. The wild storm continued, but whether it was the attacking side or the defending side, they did not seem to care. This attack that could even shatter steel, whether it was the attacker or the defender, it was completely insignificant. There was no doubt that the two of them were strong. This was strange. The Chu family could not understand this. How could Chu Tian break through this quickly? The three families had clearly blocked off the miracle commerce material channel. Chu Tian should not have had the chance to refine the Saint Pill. The power of his source spirit could block such a strong attack. Just how strong was Chu Tian's source spirit? The jet black sword source spirit was comparable to a god-level source spirit. It was enough to make the Chu family, a sword cultivator family, feel ashamed. This sword array is strong, but it is too scattered, so it is not strong enough. Chu Tian was surrounded by broken swords and fragments. If you want to kill me, then bring out your true skills. As you wish. Chu Xinghe was not surprised or angry. So what if he had broken through? If their cultivations were the same, perhaps they would have had the strength to fight. Chu Tian's cultivation was an entire level lower than Chu Xinghe's, so Chu Xinghe did not think he would lose. Roar! A golden flood dragon charged out from Chu Xinghe's body, and the broken swords on the ground seemed to be attracted by a magnet, floating in the air to reform. Moreover, with the vast power of his source spirit, it released a majestic dragon's roar, turning into 5-6 meter long flood dragons. The golden flood dragons filled the sky, creating a magnificent scene that far surpassed the audience's imagination. Just the golden flood dragons released a dazzling golden light that made it hard for everyone to open their eyes. 360 Wandering Dragon Sword Array. With 360 golden flood dragons, could the demon god's swords might be stopped? These 360 golden dragons were like piranhas charging at their prey. Chu Tian's brows knit together and he suddenly raised the sword in his hand. He forcefully pointed it at the sky and the ground around him began to crack. Surging blue flames shot into the air and turned into hundreds of fireballs. Each fireball quickly took shape, turning into a demon with 2 horns and a body covered in flames. The hundreds of blue flame demons charged at the hundreds of golden flood dragons. These were the Netherworld clones. They were not strong individually, but they had the ability to self-destruct. The hundreds of blue flame demons and the hundreds of golden flood dragons continued to clash, colliding, and exploding. Finally the sky was filled with flames and golden flood dragon fragments. Chu Xinghe began to feel a little angry. How could this fellow have so many skills? He couldn't waste any time, he had to kill him with this slash. Man and sword as one. Chu Xinghe personally made a move and an incomparably sharp killing intent erupted. He raised his right hand high up and his finger released a giant sword chi that soared into the sky. Heaven-cutting art. Facing the heaven-splitting sword chi, the netherworld flame quickly gathered at the edge of the sword and infused the power of his source spirit into it. Chu Tian held the burning sword as he took a step forward and released an attack that was like a mountain. This was the third move of the netherworld flame sword art. It gave up on speed and evasion, but it released a destructive and explosive might, netherworld ghost slash. A deep blue sword chi and a golden sword chi, one horizontal and one horizontal, collided, causing the stage to continuously shatter. In the end, the golden sword chi won and the sharp energy slammed into Chu Tian's body. Chu Tian's starlight barrier shattered, but after being weakened by this attack, although this sword chi was very strong, it was not enough to kill Chu Tian. it could only cause some injuries to Chu Tian. Chu Tian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with a laugh, "Your unique skill doesn't seem to be very effective against me." While he was speaking, Chu Tian's starlight immortal body quickly recovered. Unique skill? You're wrong. A glow flashed in Chu Xinghe's eyes and the hundreds of flood dragons returned to Chu Xinghe's back. They quickly gathered together. "I'll let you see my true unique skill." Roar. Amidst the violent roars, the 100 flood dragons fused together and turned into a giant flood dragon that was dozens of meters long. Every scale was extremely clear, and every scale seemed to be pieced together by the blade of a sword, emitting a sharp sword chi. A peerless beast aura covered the entire stage. Everyone felt a suffocating pressure. Whether it was the golden flood dragon's form or aura, it was completely the same as a real flood dragon. An even more shocking scene occurred. That giant flood dragon swam beside Chu Xinghe and suddenly opened its mouth, swallowing Chu Xinghe. In that instant, Chu Xinghe fused with the giant flood dragon. The human was the flood dragon and the flood dragon was the human. The two became one, no longer distinguishing one from the other. Roar! The giant flood dragon's strength skyrocketed, and its body grew to 100 meters long. With a casual sweep of its thick tail, a large part of the arena's ground caved in, and a huge ravine appeared in the center, as if it had been cut by a giant sword. Everyone held their breaths. What kind of magical power was this? This is truly incredible. Boss Yu's expression changed. This kind of strength is not something a person in the illustrious soul realm should have. This person's strength is no different from a true soul realm expert. Chu Tian faced Chu Xinghe, who had turned into a mighty golden flood dragon, and his eyes slowly turned serious. In the trial tower, man and sword as one was the highest realm that Chu Xinghe had reached, but now he could directly become one with the flood dragon. This flood dragon's body was made of solidified sword chi, so it was as hard as steel and impenetrable. Even if a normal illustrious soul realm cultivator used all their methods, they wouldn't be able to break the flood dragon's body, not to mention injuring Chu Xinghe inside. Chu Xinghe had turned into a flood dragon and his strength had increased by several times. This battle strength could not be compared to when he was in the trial tower. The golden dragon suddenly spat out a golden sword chi from its mouth. It slashed through the ground with an unstoppable force, instantly arriving in front of Chu Tian. Pa! The starlight on Chu Tian's body shattered and he was sent flying to the edge of the stage. What's wrong? Have you already used up half of your spirit energy? Have you already used up all your moves? The golden flood dragon's 100-meter-long body circled in the air as its majestic and terrifying voice echoed through the world. As for me, this is just the beginning. Chapter 232. When Chu Xinghe transformed into a flood dragon and surpassed the illustrious soul realm, even if he faced the heads of the three great families, he would not be at a disadvantage and he might even be able to win. A casual sword chi from the golden flood dragon's mouth could pierce through Chu Tian's defenses. This was just a casual attack from Chu Xinghe, he did not use too much strength at all. The difference in strength between the two sides was very clear. Chu Xinghe not only had a higher cultivation base than Chu Tian, he also had a large advantage in terms of cultivation technique. The Chu family's soul sword secret art was known as the Chu family's strongest cultivation technique. Chu Xinghe's imperial dragon sword secret art was a cultivation technique left behind by an ancient sword cultivator. In terms of cultivation technique, it was not inferior to Chu Tian's netherworld flame sword secret art. Although Chu Tian had used his own knowledge and ability to continuously improve the Netherworld Flame Sword secret art, it had surpassed the Imperial Dragon Sword secret art in terms of quality. He had only just reached the large success realm. Chu Xinghe's two sword arts had reached a godly level, reaching the highest realm. This gap was not something that could be easily crossed, even for a person like Chu Tian. Since you've exhausted your abilities, then you can die in peace. Chu Xinghe did not need to drag this on any longer. He used his full strength to end this fight and end this fellow that shouldn't have appeared, Chu Tian. The golden flood dragon roared. The golden scales on its body released a fierce sword chi that formed a storm of sword chi. The entire flood dragon seemed like it was made of thousands of swords, and no matter how strong the existence in front of it was, it would be instantly torn apart. You want to decide this in one move? Chu Tian faced the undefeatable Chu Xinghe. He suddenly raised the netherworld sword in his hand and released all his remaining spirit energy. The wildly burning netherworld ghost flames all gathered around Chu Tian. It didn't gather on the blade, but on Chu Tian's body. This scene stunned everyone. What was Chu Tian trying to do? Could it be that he wanted to light a fire and burn himself? Let me show you my self-created cultivation technique. Chu Tian turned into a flaming man, and a voice came from where the flames converged, flame demon transformation. Chu Tian's burning body continued to expand until he became a 10-meter-tall giant. This giant's entire body was made of flames, and it had a pair of sinister feet on its head. There was a pair of giant wings on its back, making it look like a terrifying demon. It emitted a cold and terrifying abyssal aura, and the blue flames that made up its body were condensed like crystals. The impact of this move was too strong. It was almost beyond the scope of people's understanding. How did Chu Tian do it? Actually, Chu Xinghe's flood dragon transformation was a higher realm of the man and sword as one. Chu Tian's flame demon transformation had the weapon spirit, netherworld, on his body, which was derived from the demon god 9 transformations. In a sense, it was the man and sword as one. This move was very dangerous because Chu Tian could not avoid being injured by the netherworld flame. So he had to use the demon's heart to balance it out. The demon's heart was the core of the hellfire demon's will, so Chu Tian had repaired the demon's heart. When he transformed into the flame demon, he would use the demon's heart to protect himself. The netherworld sword's weapon spirit, netherworld, was influenced by Chu Tian's strength. The stronger the netherworld flame and the stronger Chu Tian's spirit energy were, the stronger the netherworld sword would be when it was summoned. When Chu Tian had summoned the netherworld sword with his triple awakened soul, it had a strength close to the 5th awakened soul layer and had defeated Shengguan Feichen with a surprise attack. Now that Chu Tian's strength had increased, the netherworld sword's strength had increased by another level. Chu Tian summoned the artifact spirit netherworld and used a secret technique to add power to his body, turning him into a giant flame demon that was over 10 meters tall. When the golden flood dragon spat out sword chi. Roar! The flame demon roared into the sky. A burning black flame flowed out and condensed into a giant black sword in his hand. This sword was covered in demonic and divine chi, containing a destructive might that could destroy everything. The sword slashed out. The golden flood dragon's sword chi was shattered. Chu Xinghe was finally overwhelmed with shock. This was impossible. When the golden flood dragon was in a daze, the flame demon took a heaven-shaking step and held the black demon god's sword in his hand. A river of energy surged into the giant sword and slashed at the golden flood dragon's body. That invulnerable body was cut into pieces and it was sent flying by the wild strength. It was like a snake being thrown by an eagle as it fell from the sky, creating a giant hole in the ground. Dong! The entire martial arts arena shook for a moment. When the flame demon was about to follow up with its sword, the golden flood dragon angrily swung its tail and a wild sword chi flew out. The flame demon quickly blocked it, but it was forced back several steps. Everyone was deeply shocked by the earth-shattering battle. One turned into a golden flood dragon and the other turned into a giant flame demon. This battle surpassed everyone's imaginations. It was a heaven-shaking battle between gods and demons. The two sides were only awakened soul cultivators. The golden flood dragon started to spin at high speed, looking like a massive golden drill as it brewed up a shocking storm of sword chi. The giant flame demon raised its burning black sword and with a heaven-splitting aura, it began to condense all its strength. Die! The golden flood dragon quickly turned into an incomparably large golden sword. The golden scales on its body came out and turned into giant flying swords that attacked the flame demon. The giant black sword swept out and all the flying swords were shattered. The flame demon once again raised its burning black sword, and the black sword's strength was condensed to its peak. Chu Tian overdraft his body, overdraft his weapon spirit, and overdraft his source spirit, pouring all his strength into this next slash. Next was a slash that would decide life and death. Either he would lose or he would win, there was no third possibility. Chu Xinghe felt Chu Tian's life and death aura, and he did not hesitate. In this kind of battle, any weakness could lead to a crushing defeat. Only the courageous would win. The golden Jiao dragon completely transformed into a huge golden sword. Tens of thousands of strands of sword qi gathered on the sword like rivers flowing into the sea. A sharp aura that could split the heavens and split the earth erupted as the huge golden sword slashed towards the flame demon. Heaven-cutting art. Man and sword as one. What was man and sword as one? Chu Xinghe completely turned into a sword. This was the true man and sword as one. Netherworld Ghost Slash. Chu Tian quickly slashed out with his sword. This was not just Chu Tian's peak strength and source spirit, it was also the peak strength of the weapon spirit Netherworld. After this slash, Netherworld would be weakened and he would fall into a deep sleep for a period of time. The two blade glows violently collided with each other. The ground of the entire martial arts arena suddenly shattered inch by inch, and the protective sister of the martial arts arena exploded on the spot. The terrifying energy turned into a storm, and directly surged out in all directions. Some of the spectators who were closer to the martial arts arena were affected by this force and were sent flying into the air. Too strong. They were simply two monsters. Chu Shi saw this from afar and his brows tightly knit together. He had no time to determine who won and who lost, so he immediately gave an order, move. Immediately move. Kill Chu Tian. Kill everyone related to Miracle Commerce. The Chu family swordsmen hidden in the crowd immediately threw away their disguises and jumped out with their swords. In that instant, the crowd fell into chaos. Murder. Murder. The Chu family is murdering people. Chu Shi's order was very ruthless. Not only did he want to kill Miracle Commerce's people, he wanted to kill everyone related to Miracle Commerce. He wanted everyone to know who was the true master of Central State. Only a bloody warning could make people remember that the consequences of standing on the wrong side were very serious. The strength of the 800 elite swordsmen of the Chu family was enough to make people's blood run cold. A quarter of them were awakened soul cultivators and the weakest were experts at the peak 9th body refinement layer. Now they were divided into several teams that were attacking the arena. Anyone related to Miracle Commerce would be mercilessly slashed under their swords. Bastards! Meng Qinggu angrily clenched her fists. She never thought that the three great families would be this ruthless. This was clearly a grudge between the three great families and Miracle Commerce, but they were going to kill innocent people. They were truly treating lives like grass. Meng Qinggu saw many cooperating families fall under the swords of the Chu family. Although her heart was filled with anxiety, there was nothing she could do. Miracle Commerce's development time was too short. The only armed force they had was the underworld mercenary group and they hadn't been fully trained yet. It was hard for them to protect themselves now, so how could they fight against the Chu family that had experts like clouds? In this period of time, the entire arena was filled with cries of alarm and pitiful cries. No one would have thought that when they came to watch a match, they would be met with an unprecedented change in Central State. Countless people were filled with fear. There were immediately trampled and casualties, causing the entire arena to fall into chaos. Meng Qinggu, hand over your life. Meng Qinggu wanted to save her, but she suddenly felt a sharp aura lock onto her. She saw a giant sword appear above her head, containing a powerful might that could overturn mountains and rivers. Soul Sword's secret art. Heaven-cutting art. Chu Shanhe released an incomparably large sword glow. This was the strongest move of the Chu family's sword art. He did not care about killing innocent people. Meng Qinggu was dead. Miracle Commerce had lost its leader. That was equal to cutting off Chu Tian's arm. Meng Qingwu's cultivation was not weak and she cultivated the starlight immortal body, but what could she do? Chu Shanhe was the head of the Chu family. With him personally making a move, how could Meng Qingwu have a chance of surviving? Even if the 18 divine blood-eaten corpses attacked at the same time, they would not be able to block a single slash from Chu Shanhe. Humph! A cold snort came from the crowd. An incomparably large silver shark suddenly jumped out from the crowd. It opened its mouth and shattered the sword glow. Chu Shanhe was shocked. This kind of powerful source spirit attack, it was a super expert in the true soul realm. Chen Bingyu and Yun Tianhe were not here. Could Miracle Commerce be hiding other true soul realm experts? But even if it was a true soul realm expert, Chu Shanhe had used the strongest attack of the Soul Sword's secret art in Central State, so how could it be easily destroyed by the power of his source spirit? What kind of god was this? After the silver shark shattered the sword glow, it charged into the sky and charged at Chu Shanhe. Scram! Chu Shanhe's giant sword swung out and slashed down at the giant shark. Under the fierce strength, the giant shark shattered and turned into a sky full of light. From the countless rays of light, a white-haired old man charged out. He condensed a ball of water in his left hand and with a wave of his hand at Chu Shanhe, countless drops of water wildly shot out. Ah! Chu Shanhe did not have the strength to resist at all. His body was instantly pierced by several drops of water. Boss Yu's legs flew into the air and he summoned the giant shark source spirit to charge forward. It bit Chu Shanhe's body and tore him in half in the air. His blood essence was swallowed by the shark. Family head. The Chu family was stunned. A respected Chu family's family head. A family head in the prime of his life. He could have led the family for at least another 20-30 years, but he had died here without even knowing who killed him. Chapter 233. Boss Yu was a ruthless character, otherwise how could the giant shark gang grow so fast in just 20 years? Not only was Boss Yu ruthless, his cultivation had reached the 9th awakened soul layer. After being baptized by the sea race's altar for 20 years, his skills had reached the perfection realm. Although he was not as strong on land as he was in the water, he was not someone normal people could block. You dare kill the Chu family's head? Die! A bloody wind filled the world. Chu Shi angrily released his source spirit and personally took out a blood-red long sword, stabbing it at Boss Yu. Before the sword arrived, the sword's aura was already there. A blood mist covered the area. This was the weapon spirit that Chu Shi had killed over the years. Not only could it confuse a person's mind, it could also make them go crazy. Boss Yu was also affected by the sword's aura and began to hallucinate. But Boss Yu's cultivation was deep and he immediately broke free. He used the fish bone staff to block the blood-red sword. Dang! Boss Yu was forced back several steps by the sword chi. The fish bone staff continued to tremble and a blood stain covered the white staff, quickly contaminating the weapon. You have some skill. Under Boss Yu's mask, a pair of blue eyes stared at the other side and a glow flashed in his eyes. The Chu family is truly worthy of being one of the 4 great families. It's been a long time since someone has been able to force this old man back. Nameless person, hand over your life. Chu Shi's treasured sword was once again covered in a blood-red color, Soul Sword's secret art. Wild storm slash. Countless scarlet sword chis shot out incessantly, and every single sword chis exploded and sprinkled down like a violent storm. Boss Yu knit his brows. This attack was not only aimed at Boss Yu, it also covered Meng Qingwu and the surrounding people. Chu Shi seemed to know that Boss Yu's cultivation was not low, so he decided to kill the more important Meng Qingwu first. Fish God's Barrier. Boss Yu threw his staff in front of Meng Qingwu and a layer of water appeared. It was as thin as a cicada's wing, but it was shockingly strong and tough. Chu Shi's sharp sword chi did not break through it at all. Ah! Ah! The people around him were not so lucky. A large number of people who did not manage to escape in time were affected by the sword qi, and hundreds of people died in an instant. Chu Tian had ordered Boss Yu to protect Meng Qingguo, but he did not say that Boss Yu had to protect the others. Boss Yu was also a ruthless person and did not care about other people's private goods. As long as he got rid of Chu Shi, he would be able to settle the situation. Just as Chu Shi was about to launch another attack, a few water droplets shot over. When these water droplets landed on the bright red sword blade, they suddenly turned into a fierce energy that washed away the energy gathered on the sword blade. It even forced Chu Shi back a few steps. What's going on? Who was this person? His cultivation was higher than Chen Bingyu's. It was impossible for Central State City to have such a person. While Chu Shi was still in a state of shock, the stage had already been decided. The entire stage had been destroyed by the sword qi and Chu Xinghe fell to the ground with a pale face. Chu Tian's body had been injured by the sword qi, but at least he was still standing on the stage. Victory had been decided. It was Chu Tian's victory again. Chu Tian had defeated Chu Xinghe fair and square. Kill him! Kill him! Chu Shi's eyes widened as he angrily roared, "Kill Chu Tian!" Several dozen Chu family experts charged at the same time. Now that Chu Tian was heavily injured, he could not keep fighting, so it was the best time to kill him. As for how to explain this to Imperial City and Shinfengho, there was no time to think about it. If Chu Tian did not die, the three great families would die. Chu Tian, die. When the Chu family's swordsmen were attacking. Who dares move against the chairman? Four figures flew into the sky at the same time and each of them summoned a giant silver shark, instantly blocking the Chu family's swordsmen. These four people moved like they were breaking through rotten wood, instantly killing 8-9 Chu family awakened soul experts. For true soul experts. Chu Shi was completely stunned. Everyone was completely stunned. When did Chu Tian have this kind of strong strength by his side? The situation fell into a stalemate. Although there were many experts by Chu Tian's side, the Chu family had made ample preparations. They had brought out over 200 awakened soul experts. It could be said that they had brought out all of their family's resources. There were a few illustrious soul realm elders who were determined to kill Chu Tian. Even if the 5 Yu brothers worked together, it would be hard for them to stop them. Kill Chu Tian and you'll be rewarded with 500 million. Chu Shi roared into the sky, kill him. A reward of 500 million. This was a fortune that could make people go crazy in Central State City. The Chu family's experts were like a pack of wild wolves, continuously attacking Chu Tian. Boss Yu's cultivation base was higher than Chu Shi's, but Boss Yu specialized in fighting in the water. Chu Shi's swordsmanship was very high and his battle strength was very shocking. The two of them could not decide who was stronger for a while. The Chu family's experts wildly attacked the other 4 brothers. If it was just protecting themselves, they could hold on for a while, but not only did they have to protect themselves, they also had to protect Chu Tian's safety, which was very hard to do. The Chu family's experts all had high swordsmanship and terrifying battle strength. Once they moved, their killing power was very strong. The 4 brothers bitterly held on for a while, but now they were already injured. Even if they didn't care about the price, they had to kill Chu Tian. Under the wild attacks of the Chu family's swordsmen, the 4 brothers finally couldn't hold on any longer. Several 5th awakened soul layer elders worked together to break through the weakest old 5th Yu's line of defense. With a single slash, they attacked Chu Tian. This monstrous youth. He still had to die under the Chu family's sword. When the Chu family's experts thought they were about to succeed, a small snow-white fox spat out a puppet that instantly turned into a giant hellfire demon. The moment this hellfire demon appeared, it released a terrifying aura. It was at least at the true soul realm. The Chu family's senior elders slashed out with their swords, but they only forced the hellfire demon back a step. Dong! Dong! Several large sounds rang out. The Chu family's senior elders were all hit by the Hellfire Demon's fist. Their organs were instantly burned and they died on the spot. Chu Tian gave a laugh. I'll have to disappoint you, but I won't die that easily. What is this? When the Hellfire Demon's large body stood up, the Chu family's experts were all shocked. Chu Tian coldly said, "Kill them." The Hellfire Demon gave a wild roar and immediately attacked the Chu family's members. After the senior elders were killed, the Chu family's morale was greatly affected. This monster was too strong. Damn! Chu Shi's eyes turned red as he angrily roared. His scarlet-red sword turned into a blur and moved like a poisonous snake. It avoided Boss Yu and charged at Chu Tian. The Hellfire Demon threw out a fireball. It had to be known that the Hellfire Demon's strength was on the level of the Southern Summer 8 Marquises. Even if it was a casual fireball, it still had a strong killing intent. When Chu Shi raised his sword to block it, his protective spirit energy immediately evaporated. He was sent flying by a fierce energy. Good chance. Boss Yu turned into a giant shark and slammed into Chu Shi, sending him into the ground once again. Chu Shi's protective spirit energy completely collapsed. I'm not willing. I'm not willing. A family traitor actually destroyed my Chu family. Chu Shi spat out a mouthful of blood as he angrily roared. How glorious was the Chu family! With a powerful person like Chu Xinghe and experts as common as clouds in the family, he originally thought that they could at least be glorious for another few hundred years. Who would have thought that the Chu family would fall like this? The person who caused the Chu family to fall was someone from the Chu family. How dramatic was this? You talk too much. Boss Yu forcefully waved his hand and a ball of water condensed in his hand, directly pinning Chu Shi to the ground. This true soul expert with the nickname, Blood-Drinking Sword, a large character that shook Central State several decades ago, had died like this. The family head was dead. The remote elder was dead. Chu Xinghe was finished. Over half of the Chu family's elites were dead and the Chu family had no hope. However, the stage was already in a mess and there was even a river of blood. Countless innocent people had died in this chaotic battle. The blood-drinking sword is here. Chu Tian picked up Chu Shi's top-quality soul weapon, the blood-drinking sword, and raised it high above his head. Don't fight anymore, the Chu family's remote elder is dead, so everything is over. If you surrender, I won't spare your life. The Chu family members all had ashen faces. Not only the family head, but even the remote elder didn't surrender. What could they do? The Chu family had been completely defeated. The Chu family's elites all threw away their swords. Boss Yu's group of 5 let out a long sigh of relief. It was a good thing that the Chu family had surrendered. These swordsmen were too strong and if they continued to fight like this, the 5 of them would not have been able to escape. Although the Chu family had been completely defeated, the crisis had not even begun. Central State City was already in chaos. The Luo family's remote elder Luo Wanxiang and the family head Luo Yanqing were leading an army to attack Miracle Commerce. The Ye family's remote elder Yi Yi and the family head Yi Wudao were wildly attacking the Yun family's headquarters. There was a large-scale battle outside Central State City. General Xiong Wuji's army was fighting against the Ye family's wolf cavalry. The 4 great families and the army were all caught up in this. In an instant, there was a rain of terror and blood flowed like a river. Countless people had died in this change in power structure and the intensity of this battle far surpassed anyone's imagination. There were many fires in Central State City and smoke covered half the city. There were people fighting on every street. There were too many powers caught up in this battle and too many experts were caught up in it. Chu Tian knit his brows. We have to finish this battle as soon as possible. Meng Qinggu was clear that if this battle continued, Central State City would be finished. Central State City was not a normal city, it was a main city. If the main city was destroyed, the kingdom would be enraged and Miracle Commerce would not be able to escape responsibility. The three great families were hundred-year-old powers and were involved in too many interests. Normally, even if Miracle Commerce wanted to destroy them, they would have to be very careful. Otherwise, if they angered the important people of Imperial City, the consequences would be unimaginable. But now they had no other choice. Central State City had become a chaotic battlefield, something that had never happened in the hundreds of years since the city was built. Miracle Commerce had to quickly eliminate all threats and use this opportunity to establish their position. They had to first take over Central State City. Only then would they have the qualifications and confidence to compete with the other powers. In for a penny, in for a pound. Go all out. Chapter 234. The chaos in the Central State Arena had just calmed down not long ago. Chairman. Chairman. This is bad. Lin Mu ran over with a face covered in blood. It was clear that he had killed his way out of the encirclement. The headquarters has already been broken through by the Luo family's elites. The Luo family's remote great elder Luo Wanxiang is among them. They have suffered heavy casualties and we can't hold on much longer. Everyone's hearts sank. Central State was already in chaos. Right now, there was killing and fighting everywhere. Miracle Commerce had too few troops. Not to mention calming the chaos, it was hard for them to even protect themselves. Meng Qinggu arranged for Chen Bingyu to stay in the headquarters to increase Miracle Commerce's defensive strength, but who would have thought that the Luo family's remote great elder would participate in this battle? The current situation was very dangerous. The three great families wanted to use this chance to cleanse themselves. Although their main targets were Miracle Commerce and the Yun family, the families and powers that worked with Miracle Commerce would not be able to escape this chaos. The longer this dragged on, the more serious Central State's losses would be. So what if Chu Tian destroyed the Chu family? If the current situation continued, the cooperating family powers would be destroyed and Miracle Commerce's factories would be destroyed. What could Miracle Commerce obtain? In the end, both sides would suffer losses. Miracle Commerce's hard work over the past few months would all be for naught. With how big the Central State matter was, if Miracle Commerce could not quickly stabilize themselves, it was very likely they would be uprooted by the outside powers. Ying and the others are in danger right now. We have to end this quickly, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. Meng Qinggu had guessed that the Central State situation would be very serious, but she never thought it would be like this. She had underestimated the three great families. We don't have enough fighting strength. What should we do? They didn't have enough fighting strength? No. There were 3,000 giant shark gang elites on the Central State docks. Chu Tian said to Boss Yu, I need the giant shark gang's strength to calm this chaos. This is a good chance for the giant shark gang to clear their name. Calming the chaos in Central State is a great merit. The 5 Yu brothers looked at each other and nodded. The giant shark gang had decided to follow Miracle Commerce, so they should make some contributions and show some sincerity. Miracle Commerce was in trouble and needed the giant shark gang's help. Once this battle was won, Miracle Commerce would have no opponents in Central State. In the end, the entire Central State would belong to Miracle Commerce. Moreover, the giant shark gang had always been known as bandits. Now that they were helping Central State settle the chaos, it was a good chance to clear their name. Kill. To the docks. Everyone had just left the arena. Suddenly, the sound of galloping horses could be heard. A group of elite cavalry that was armed to the teeth passed through the streets like a green flood, directly surrounding the martial arena. Sharp lances flickered with a cold light. The leader of this group was none other than the city lord, Feng Yunlong. Chu Tian didn't die. Chu Shi. What about Chu Xinghe? Where are the 800 elites of the Chu family? This was clearly a complete setup, so why did such a situation occur? Traitor Chu Tian, where do you think you're going? The city lord Feng Yunlong was covered in armor and his eyes were filled with flames as he looked at Chu Tian. You've caused chaos in Central State and implicated millions of citizens, you deserve to die 10,000 times. Storm Cavalry, listen to my orders, kill Chu Tian on the spot. It was the Storm Cavalry. The most elite cavalry of Central State. The Storm Cavalry was the most elite cavalry of Southern Xia. Every state would have a few of them to ensure that the city lord had enough power. This army was the imperial army, only the 8 marquises and the city lord could use them, even the great general Xiong Wuji did not have the qualifications to use them. The storm cavalry was very strong, with most of them in the 8th and 9th body refinement layer. There were a lot of awakened soul realm experts, so they were not inferior to the core troops of the 4 great families. This was bad. Meng Qingwu's heart sank. With this kind of elite troop coming to stop them, even if they could break through, it would take quite a bit of time. Could miracle commerce last that long? Once the headquarters fell, their foundation would be destroyed. Even if they won, there would be no meaning in that. Feng Yuntian brandished his sword, capture the traitor Chu Tian, go. The several hundred storm cavalry looked at each other in blank dismay, not a single person following the order to attack. Feng Yuntian flew into a rage, what are you doing? Did you not hear this city lord's orders? Shin Fengho's token is here. Chu Tian took out a blue token from his chest, Shin Fengho has given the storm cavalry to this one. Many thanks to the city lord for giving Chu Tian a rescue team at this critical moment. Feng Yunlong was enraged, the storm cavalry are the imperial army, how can they listen to outsiders? Kill. Kill for me. Whoever dares disobey will have their entire family executed. The storm cavalry still did not move. Chu Tian was their benefactor and they all admired Chu Tian's abilities. The most important thing was that when Shin Fengho went to Imperial City, he had given the army to Chu Tian to manage. Perhaps Shin Fengho had already guessed that Central State City would fall into chaos, so he gave this cavalry to Chu Tian just in case. Chu Tian loudly shouted, Feng Yunlong has stirred up the 3 great families, capture him for me. Several dozen spears surrounded Feng Yunlong like a forest. Feng Yunlong was so angry that he almost spat out blood. Take Feng Yunlong back to the mayor's palace. Feng Yunlong was still Shin Fengho's younger brother, so Chu Tian left him with his life. He ordered the cavalry to imprison Feng Yunlong in the mayor's palace, everyone else, follow me and kill. Yes. Chu Tian led the several hundred cavalry and charged out of the city gates. There was already a chaotic battle outside. The Ye family's wolf cavalry was fighting against the Central State Army, making the battlefield very desperate. The Ye family had the largest and most elite private army in Central State. In terms of battle strength, they were even higher than the regular army. It was fortunate that Meng Qingwu had reminded Xiong Wuji to make preparations, otherwise the consequences would have been unimaginable. If the fierce and powerful wolf cavalry entered the city, Central State City would turn into a sea of blood. The Ye family's wolf cavalry and the Central State Army were fighting, but who would have thought that a group of cavalry would charge out of the city? A hellfire demon was leading the way, instantly tearing a path through the wolf cavalry. Xiong Wuji was covered in blood with a spear in his hand as he fought against Yi Wudao. Seeing this, he broke out in laughter, reinforcements are here. Chu Tian. Yi Wudao's eyes popped out in shock, you actually didn't. He didn't even manage to say the word die. The 5 Yu brothers released a giant silver-white shark, which ferociously charged through the army of 10,000. Everywhere it passed, a mist of blood filled the sky. Finally, with Yi Wudao at the center, they converged to attack. Puchi. The sound of flesh being torn apart could be heard. Yi Wudao was arrogant, but he died without a corpse. After the 5 brothers killed the enemy leader, they immediately blew their horns. The giant shark gang's elites had already discovered the chaos in Central State City, but they didn't dare move without orders. Now that they had been summoned by the 5 leaders, the 3,000 elites charged into Central State City. The giant shark gang had only been established for 20 years, but with the giant treasures at the bottom of the lake, they had developed very quickly. The 3,000 giant shark gang elites were not weaker than the elites of the 4 families on water. Although they were weaker on land, they were still a strong force. The family head is dead. The family head is dead. The Ye family's wolf cavalry was in chaos. When the giant shark gang's elites met up with Chu Tian and combined with Xiong Wuji's army and the storm cavalry, an unstoppable momentum was formed. So what if the Ye family had the largest private army in Central State City that was even more elite than the regular army? As long as Chu Tian charged forward, the situation would be completely reversed. This most elite private army of the Central Plains was beaten to a sorry state. Wolf corpses were everywhere and there were countless human corpses, forming a small river of blood. The Chu, Luo, and Yi families have rebelled. Xiong Wuji raised a thick spear and angrily roared, "The Chu, Luo, and Yi families have rebelled. Follow me into the city to suppress them. Kill the traitors. Kill the traitors." 20,000 Central State soldiers charged into Central State City. The remaining elites of the Luo and Ye family did not know that both sides had been defeated. Under their fierce attacks, the Yun family and Miracle Commerce could not hold on any longer. At this time, Chu Tian came back with reinforcements. This was an overwhelming strength. The elites of the 2 families were surrounded in a short period of time. Yi Yi and Luo Wanxiang never thought this kind of result would happen. Kill. Chu Tian gave a cold order. Boss Yu's 5 brothers, Yun Tianhe, Qin Bingyu, these true soul realm experts all came out and the 2 families could not resist at all. In the end, Yi Yi, Luo Wanxiang, and Luo Yanqing were all killed on the spot. After this battle, the elite combat forces of the 3 great families, including the Yun family, which had been around for 100 years, had almost all perished by more than half. The chaos in Central State City continued. Chu Tian had Xiong Wuji surround the mayor's palace and put Feng Yunlong under house arrest in the mayor's palace. Then he brought people to clean up the 3 families. Those who surrendered would not be killed. Otherwise they would all be killed. This great turmoil lasted for an entire day and night. It was a day of slaughter, a day of bloodshed, and a day that shook everyone to the core. The sun of the next day. It once again fell on Central State City. Countless vultures were attracted by the smell of death as they flew over the city. Although the chaos and slaughter had gradually calmed down, it was like Central State City had experienced a baptism of war. The entire Central State City was covered in a thick smell of blood. Outside the city, there was a small river of blood. The Ye family's strongest private army, the Wolf Cavalry, had almost all died here. The Central State City army had also suffered heavy casualties. There were wolf corpses, horse corpses, and human corpses, numbering in the tens of thousands. The scene was very tragic. The city was filled with smoke and there were signs of battle everywhere. Many houses had been burned down and the guards were currently bringing buckets of water to wash away the blood stains on the ground. Too tragic. The originally bustling Central Continent city, because of the sudden revolt of the 3 great families, instantly turned into a scene of a battlefield. At least 30 to 40,000 people lost their lives in this riot. In the several hundred years of Central Continent city's history, this was a bloody turmoil that had never happened before. The 3 great families had been defeated in the end. The remote elders and the family heads had all died in battle. The entire family's elite strength had been completely wiped out. From now on, the situation of Central State City's Chu, Yun, Luo, and Yi families had come to an end. The era of the 4 great families had come to an end and on top of these ruins, there was bound to be a new giant. It was Miracle Commerce. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.